Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Godlike Naruto gets rinnegan instead of Sasuke. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by mokuton Naruto 23 and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. Gaining power and going back. Naruto was a 17-year-old boy forever burdened because of the Kyuubi sealed inside of him by the death god himself. He woke up in his mindscape, but where am I? He asked no one. In particular, when he saw he was in his mindscape, his first thought was, am I dead? He then started thinking back on the events that led up until now. Flashback. The Valley of the End. The Valley of the End, a place where legendary battles have taken place. Battles that were so destructive that they reshaped the land, such as Senju Hashirama vs Uchiha Madara, or more recently Uzumaki Naruto vs Uchiha Sasuke in the moonlight. You could see two silhouettes standing on two different statues. The two figures could be identified as Naruto and Sasuke. Both were once as close as brothers, whether they showed it or not. But now they were to the point of being a replay of Hashirama and Madara. Naruto was standing on the head of the Senju Hashirama statue, while Sasuke was standing on the head of the Uchiha Madara, his Sharingan spinning wildly into the Ion no Mangekyo Sharingan. Spelling? Sasuke, why are you doing this? Tell me, Naruto asked while staring into the six-pointed star. I thought it was obvious. I am helping Madara release the Kyuubi so that he can bring peace to the world. A world where Itachi is still alive, but I guess I also thought you would have been smart enough to not stare into my eyes. Looks like I was wrong about that too, Dobe, said Sasuke with a cold smirk. Tsukuyami, he thought as the sky turned cloudy and the moon became red. Naruto, realizing that he had been trapped in the genjutsu, and screamed, but a peace where everyone is nothing but a slave isn't true peace, as he released a ridiculous amount of chakra releasing the jutsu. Shut up, Dobe, what the hell would you know about true peace, said an enraged Sasuke as he charged a Raikiri. I know because I have been through suffering and I understand other people's pain, shouted a teary-eyed Naruto as he charged a rinnegan. Naruto, bellowed Sasuke as he jumped. Sasuke, screamed Naruto as he jumped to meet him. When they clashed, they literally tore the land to pieces, but then something weird happened to Naruto. His eyes started burning and he felt his chakra slowly drain in minuscule amounts going towards his eyes, but he kept going and his shoved itself into Sasuke's chest, just above his heart in his subclavian, killing him instantly. That was when he blacked out. However, he had never noticed the genjutsu cast over him by the Kyuubi. Well, Gaki, looks like you will do great things. I just hope they're for the better, Kyuubi thought as he trailed off and went to sleep. Flashback end. He couldn't stop his tears from falling at the thought of the memory, but that was when he remembered where he was as just moments ago, when Madara released the Kyuubi. From the Kyuubi being sealed into him to when they had fought, to his little talk with Kami. Flashback. Kyuubi released. What will you do now, Uzumaki Naruto? My plan is finally complete. All that I need to do is absorb the Kyuubi, and Project Tsuki no Mi shall begin a new era of peace that will never leave. Ha 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 ha, cackled Madara. I need to find a way to stop this fast. Wait a minute, is the Kyuubi being absorbed into me? Thought a shocked Naruto as silver chakra surrounded his body. What the hell is happening? What are you doing, Uzumaki? Shouted a horrified and furious Madara. Then his eyes started to burn again, and as the Kyuubi was fully sealed, he felt a genjutsu release. Madara saw his eyes and then froze up in terror. The eyes staring back were not sapphire blue but metallic purple with 4 rings and 9 tomo, he has the rinnegan B, but that's not possible, and why are there tomo in the rings? Forget 9 of them. He screamed in his head. He was so focused on the rinnegan that he never noticed Naruto started to make hand seals. Mokuton, Mokuria no Jutsu, wood release, wood dragon technique, whispered Naruto. Madara was violently brought out of his thoughts when he saw a wood dragon was racing towards him. Kamui, he said desperately, the jutsu activated just seconds before impact. He has the Mokuton too. What's next? Those tomo have given him the Sharingan's power. Why do I get the feeling that I shouldn't have thought of that, thought Madara. Naruto, who had yet to realize what he was doing, held up his hand and whispered Susanoo. Madara was once again blown out of his thoughts as a purple, almost gray-like figure emerged from Naruto, and only for the fact that Madara still had his Kamui activated he would have been killed on the spot. I knew I shouldn't have thought about the Sharingan, thought a rather annoyed Madara, because that his enemy was gaining more and even more power by the second, and he knew that if he didn't kill the blonde idiot soon he would be overwhelmed and he wouldn't be able to extract the Kyuubi to complete Project Tsuki no Mi. Madara then summoned his own Susanoo when he noticed that Naruto's Susanoo had not 2 or even 3 but 4 arms. Shocked with this and every other discovery that the blonde was showing him, he knew that the boy was mere minutes away from killing him if he didn't do something fast. So in a desperate attempt he held up his arms and chanted, burn all evil and leave no ashes, arise to my command the flames of Amaterasu, he said in the hopes of killing the boy. Through his Susanoo, however, to his surprise, the boy simply shouted Shinra Tensei, almighty push, and the supposed unextinguishable flames were turned to nothing more than cinders. What he didn't know was that the boy himself was unconscious while he was fighting someone else. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto woke up in his mindscape. He was confused. How did I end up in my mindscape, was his primary thought, and then he could hear something, a small voice in his head calling him to it, or as it sounded her. He then started thinking about his battle with Madara. Did Madara defeat him? No. He could still feel his chakra being in constant use, but who was using it was the question running through his mind. It wasn't Kurama, as he could not feel the kitsun's presence. But that would mean he was dead. Then he remembered, I absorbed the Kyuubi. That will take a while to get used to, saying, he thought weakly. Sigh. well, I might as well go and find out who's in my mindscape this time, he said tiredly. He slowly made his way to the cage seal that contained Kurama, or rather used to contain. When he got there though, he didn't expect to see two women arguing. He started walking towards them when he heard that they were talking about something dangerous. Know how dangerous that can be, said the woman within the cage. Yes, I do know, but I invented it, so I know it won't go wrong, claimed the other woman before continuing, stating, it seems that our guest of honor has arrived, and she turned around to face the boy. Excuse me, but exactly who are you two, and why are you in my mindscape, asked a confused but cautious Naruto. Well, the answer to your stupid little question is that I am Kami in this. Is Akira-chan, or the Jubi in human form, explained the woman who is now identified Kami. Wait, Kami, said Naruto. Yes, and I am here to tell you of your new powers, said Kami. What new powers, asked Naruto, confused. But where will you where to begin, started Kami. Just tell the Gaki and get it over with, scowled the Jubi, or Akira as she is now known as. Obviously annoyed. Well, when you absorb Akira here you gain the Jubigan, or better known as the Mangekyo Rinnegan, which can do everything that the Rinnegan and Mangekyo Sharingan can do, but you won't go blind, and you also gain the ability to use all sub-elements including Mokuton, Shoton, Miton and Jintono, and I have given you the ability to create Kekkei Genkai and give them to other people, stated Kami, slowing down near the end to let everything sink in. And he will only be able to give ones like the four I mentioned, not like the dust release. Naruto, who had long since gone wide-eyed and started gaping like a fish, closed his mouth and calmed himself before he screamed. Wahatat, not so loud, Baka, shouted Akira. Not so loud. How do you expect me to react? Say, oh, is that all, and just walk away, shouted Naruto in a softer but still loud voice. Yes, well, I am afraid to inform you, but while my sister Yami will no doubt beat Madara quickly, it is too late to save everyone, so I have come here to send you back in time, stated Kami. At first Naruto thought, so that's who's controlling me. When he realized, wait, what do you mean send me back in time, he asked warily. Akira's face vaulted, and she said, isn't it obvious? We're sending you back in time so you can prepare for Madara, even kill him if you go back far enough. And before you start shouting about what do you mean if I go back far enough, you will be sent back 50 to 53 years, around the time of the Densetsu Eno Sanin. Kami then stated, yes, you will have the chance to help the Sanin. You could stop Orochimaru from becoming a sadistic jutsu-craving pedophile, or help Jiraiya become strong enough to defeat Nagato should it arise again, or even help Tsunade by saving her brother Nawaki. Maybe even have her fall for you, said Kami while giggling. Naruto blushed furiously. What did you mean fall F for MME, he said, stuttering. Just fall in love with you. You'd be the perfect man for her, said Kami while Naruto, if possible, just turned a deeper shade of red. Meanwhile, Akira was ready to burst out laughing at the boy's situation, but instead said, don't worry, Gaki. Chances are more than likely that you'll do something to make her fall for you. And I should mention that you'll be in a small child's body. Depending on when you will be 6 months older than Tsunade. A little bit too young to be in the year ahead of them, but the oldest in your class at the academy, Akira said, starting teasingly but honest in the end. Meanwhile, with Madara and Yami. What the hell are you, roared Madara. Sorry to tell you, but Naruto Kayun isn't here right now, but since you want to know so badly, my name is Yami, Goddess of Darkness, stated Yami to the utter disbelief of Madara. What the hell are the gods getting in the way of my plans? For Madara practically screeched but was cut off by Yami. You were not meant to interfere with the boy in the first place. Everything was meant to end with Nagato, but no. Instead you had to interfere, she said with malice in her voice. But we might as well finish this, seeing as how this dimension won't even exist in a few minutes, she said, mumbling. The last part, damn it, at this rate Project Tsuki no Mi will be prolonged even further. That is if this worthless excuse of a god manages to make a miracle, and bet me, he thought before continuing the thought with a chuckle. What am I thinking? Even with a miracle, she can't beat me. Before saying yes, let me show everyone that it's you worthless excuses of gods that are the reason we suffer so much. However, this only proved to be lethal. She screamed, Mokuton, Jubaku Eyes and Ojutsu, would release, tree by and flourishing burial. Madara only got the chance to dodge because his Sharingan saw it but didn't get a chance to counter, as Yami roared Mokuton, Makijin and Ojutsu, would release, would golem technique, and then a huge golem burst out of the deity-possessed boy and punched him, sending him 40 feet back. Sorry, forgot to mention that while Naruto was talking to Kami, Madara's Susanoo deactivated again. Sorry, Madara stood shakily before using the Tiger Seal and saying Katan, Goryuka no Jutsu, fire release great fire dragon technique. But it was not to be, as Yami said. Mokuton, Mokujiki, would release wood locking wall, and a large wooden half-dome stopped the dragon in its tracks. Madara, however, was infuriated and made a different seal this time, shouting Katan, Mekiyaku no Jutsu, fire release great fire annihilation, trying to burn down the dome. I will not be beaten by some lame excuse of a deity, he thought as he took his gunbai off his back and violently swung it, whispering gunbai fanned wind, and the dome finally collapsed. He smirked, thinking the goddess-possessed boy had been crushed. But it was short-lived, as Yami suddenly appeared behind him and yelled at him a Rasengan, giant spiraling sphere, shoving the giant sphere into his back. Back with Naruto. Are there any more surprises you want to tell me before I faint? Naruto asked after regaining his bearings. Will, there is the possibility of you having the paper Kekkei Genkai that the blue-haired girl whom was with Nagato had, but I'm not sure about that one, said Akira. But by now something that normally would have shocked Naruto no longer did. And when I said godlike Naruto, I meant it. and there will be some other changes. Some are set in stone, like Hashirama didn't give the biju away to the other villages, or that Tsunade will contain one of the biju, and random things like which one she will contain, as we can only alter so much with this ritual, Kami said before continuing. Well, Naruto Keien, we had better get the ritual started. When they had the ritual set up, Akira and Kami started chanting words that Naruto could only guess as an ancient language. Suddenly in a brilliant flash of light, everything outside the seal faded into darkness. Flashback. And after remembering that he could hear voices, probably the medics, he thought, well, might as well contact Akira and find out about this, but that wasn't to be, as he practically felt her push him out with a whisper of later Gaki. End of Chapter 1. Chapter 2. Changing History and Saving Tsunade. Previously, after remembering that he could hear voices, probably the medics, he thought, well, might as well contact Akira and find out about this, but that wasn't to be, as he felt her practically push him out with a whisper of later Gaki. Now, he's waking up, said an astounded medic. Shinobi, what? But that's impossible. He should be in a coma from the state we found him in, proclaimed another medic before she went outside. ANBU, get Hokage-sama, tell him the boy has miraculously awoken, she told one of the ANBU guarding the door. Naruto started regaining his bearings as his vision was still blurry, but he was able to see that someone was in front of him talking to him. He had finally regained his vision, and hearing to see a woman with blonde hair that kind of looked like his, saying, "Are you alright, child?" He was about to say that he wasn't a child when he remembered that he had been sent to the past and physically was probably only a 4 or 5 years old. He pretended that he didn't hear her and said, "Excuse me, but could you repeat that?" His voice, although he knew he was young, sounded higher than he thought it would be, but it also held innocence. So the woman repeated, "I said, are you alright, child?" "Yep, but where am I?" replied asked Naruto, seeing that he was able to see and hear her properly. She smiled and replied, "You're in Kanahigaku's hospital. The emergency room, to be exact, as you should be in a coma. My name is Tsukiko." "Nakamura." "Tsukiko, what's yours?" she asked, but Naruto just said, "I would rather wait until Hokage-sama gets here." With Hashirama. Hashirama was at his desk doing paperwork. The one thing he could never beat, although both he and his brother are in power as Hokages of Konoha, he was the one who had to sign the paperwork. Much to his displeasure, thankfully one of his ANBU came in to distract him from the ever-present Bane. He looked at the ANBU and simply said, "Report," to which the ANBU replied, "Hokage-sama, the boy who was supposed to be in a coma has miraculously woken up." The utter disbelief on Hashirama's face told that he was thinking, how can this boy, who when we found him was bruised, battered and in a comatose state, suddenly just wake up? "Very well, go back to your position, I'll be there in a second," he replied, and with that the ANBU left. Hashirama knew that this boy was different when he found him, but this just blew him away. "Well, child, what's your story?" he thought, and with that left for the hospital. Back with Naruto. Naruto and Tsukiko were waiting for Hashirama to arrive when they heard a knock on the door. It opened to show the Shodai Hokage. Naruto, although had a straight face on the inside, he was awestruck. Here was a man who had been feared throughout the shinobi nations and the first man to be praised as the Kami no Shinobi since the Rikudo. Sannin. Naruto was brought out of his thoughts when Hashirama spoke up. "You gave us quite the scare, little one. Tell me, who are you and why were you so beaten up?" he asked, only for Naruto to reply, "I'm afraid you'll have to get a Yamanaka to confirm the story that I have for you, and you might want to get your brother to save doing this twice," which had shocked Hashirama greatly, but nevertheless he asked the ANBU to go get Tobirama and Isamu Yamanaka. When the two arrived, the four were able to begin. Hashirama forgot about Tsukiko. "Alright, now that everyone is here, Isamu, would you like to confirm this boy's story?" he said. Isamu was confused as to the reason he was called to interrogate a mere child, but said nothing. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki," and he then started to explain his story from the start of the Fourth Great Shinobi War right up to his fight with Madara. And when Isamu was asked to verify the claims, they were true every time. It would have been too long to write, and the two brothers were positively shocked. This boy, who was apparently from the future and was really 17 years old, was telling the truth. Tsukiko, whom everyone had forgotten, had nearly fainted but managed to catch herself. However, she made some noise, and that was when Hashirama remembered that he had never dismissed. "Damn, now there is another person who knows this well. I could have her take care of him so people won't get suspicious if I or my brother adopt him," he thought before saying, "Well, that's quite the story. I'm almost convinced that it's true. All I need to do is test how strong you are." But he trailed off. Not that Naruto could blame him, as he had just been told things that before today had seemed impossible, yet a physically 4-year-old was telling him otherwise. Hashirama then turned to Tsukiko. "Well, Miss Nakamura, I think we may need to have a little talk about this," he said before leading her out. Tobirama turned to Isamu, telling him, "You are dismissed. But if any of this leaks out," he let the threat hang high. "Nidame-sama," and after saying that he left via Shunshin, he then turned to Naruto and said, "Well, Mr. Uzumaki, that is a very tall tale, and even more amazing is the fact that the possibility of it being true is extremely high. Sigh, this is too crazy. I feel like I'm going insane," he said, muttering the last part just loud enough for Naruto to hear. "How do you think I feel? I'm the one who not only has to get used to being in the body of a 4-year-old again, but I have to fight a man who could take on one of the lesser gods in old age, and in his prime could even kill Yami, and will probably do everything in his power to kill me." That was when he realized that his life was not going to get quiet, but he now knew that that will not be the case. Tobirama knew what he was thinking, and he truly felt sorry for him, so he decided to change the topic. "Well, I'm sure little Tsunade will enjoy being around you from what you have told us about your talk with Kami," he said in a teasing tone, while Naruto just blushed crimson. "Yes, well, if you don't mind, I'll be in my Mindscape, he said, meditating before becoming unconscious. Tobirama then exited the room and went back to his clan's compound. With Hashirama. Hashirama led Tsukiko into his office, still thinking about this whole ordeal. Well, Ms. Nakamura, I'm sure that you are still in shock, but we need to get down to business, Hashirama said while Tsukiko could only nod dumbly. I have brought you here to decide where Naruto will be staying, and I believe that him staying at your house will be beneficial, as you have already heard what he is capable of, and I trust that you shall not reveal anything that we have been told today, he said. Hi Hokage-sama, but I do need Ryo to accommodate for the both of us, as I doubt that my wages alone will provide for us, she replied, understanding the situation the man was in. Yes, you will not need to worry about that. I will see to that task personally, but now how much am I to reveal to the damned council about this? After all, I can't just have a boy whom appeared out of nowhere to just be accepted, as they would get suspicious, Hashirama said, leaking a small amount of killing intent. This will be called KI from now on. Well, all that we would have to do there is ask him, she said. Well, really, that's all that we can do at this point, Hashirama agreed with her before continuing. Well, might as well see how much we can reveal, and with that the sun shined back to the hospital. Meanwhile, with Naruto and Akira. Naruto had been thinking about what he would feel towards Tsunade in this timeline when Akira, whom was no longer caged, found him. Alright Gaki, I know what you're thinking, but right now the task of importance is how much you reveal to everyone else in the village, Akira said. But before she could, what I have to tell more people, Naruto complained. Well, maybe if you had let me explain, you might already know, she chided before fully explaining. Now first of all, I know Hashirama will tell the council, and the council will spread the news quickly anyway. Hashirama may tell them about the Jubigan, your paper release, and the mokuton, and not a damn thing more, Akira said. And don't worry Gaki, I'm sure that Tsunade will be head over heels at some point, she said teasingly. But before Naruto could reply, Akira had kicked him out again. Back in the real world, Naruto opened his eyes to hear a knock on the door. It opened to show Hashirama and Tsukiko. Well, Mr. Uzumaki, I believe that we have some business to discuss, Hashirama announced. While Naruto just nodded. First of all, we have to test you, but I won't get time for that for another few hours. We also need to make sure that people don't get suspicious that a 4-year-old is just living by himself, so you'll be living with Nakamura-san here, Hashirama said. That's acceptable. But what's the real reason you're here? Naruto replied curiously. Well, he's definitely being serious, Hashirama thought in a monotone. Well, I still need to know your plan and how much you're willing to reveal about your strength, Hashirama said, grimacing about the fact that he and Tobirama would have to tell the council. Akira said that you can tell the council about the Jubigan, the paper release, and the mokuton, and I quote, not a damn thing more, and as for my plan, you shall only need to know if something doesn't go as I needed it to. Other than that, I've just been getting constant teasing about Tsunade, Naruto said with a small blush and a slight shiver going down his spine. Hashirama, knowing exactly why he was blushing, came up next to him and whispered, just don't do it too fast, as I'd rather not have a fangirl for a granddaughter, he said with a teasing smile. Naruto just turned red. Well, I will leave you two to get to know each other, and with that said he left. Tsukiko, whom never would have guessed that she'd ever be in this position, asked Naruto to start. Alright, my name is Uzumaki Naruto. My likes are ramen, training, and my friends who unfortunately aren't born yet, and my former godparents whom I'm now older than. My dislikes are arrogant brats that think just because their family is well respected that they are above everyone else, bandits, or any other type of people who rape, kill, and torture innocent people, and traitors. My hobbies are training and eating ramen. My dream, well, I'll have to think about that one, he said, chuckling at the end. Well, Naruto, my name is Nakamura Tsukiko. My likes are medical jutsu, my boyfriend Mitarashi Akihiro, and my best friends Inuzuka Kiyomi and Uchiha Miyako. My dislikes are perverts and rapists. My hobbies are practicing my medical jutsu and shopping with Kiyomi and Miyako. My dream is to become the best medic that I can be, she said happily. What? This woman is Anko's grandmother. I did not see that coming, Naruto thought, surprised that he had not noticed as to the fact that the only difference between them was their hair and eye color. Well, you might as well come with me back to my house since you still have 2 hours to wait to fight Hashirama, she said, walking towards the door. That was when Naruto realized that there were clothes beside his bed. They didn't look too good, but he wasn't complaining. Tsukiko's house. As Naruto entered Tsukiko's house, he was amazed at how clean it was. Whoa, I'd almost swear that this place has a genjutsu placed on it. I wonder, he thought before activating his Mangekyo Rinnegan, and saw that the whole house was covered in a genjutsu. So I was right. The Mangekyo Rinnegan has helped my genjutsu detection, he thought, happy with the fact that he won't be affected by genjutsu that he can't see or sense. Tsukiko then lead him to his new room. Well, Naruto, this will be where you sleep until you're 18. It's not much, but I suppose it'll have to do until I can renovate the place, she told him. The room looked like a guest room with an average double bed with plain white sheets, midnight blue paint in the walls, and a few pieces of furniture for storing clothes. Well, would like me to show you around the house, she asked, but Naruto just answered no. Thank you, I'm sure I'll find my way around. With Hashirama, Tobirama, and the council, Hashirama rubbed his temples as he waited for the rest of the council, dreading the arguments that would follow his explanation of the boy whom he had found. His brother was just as annoyed but didn't show it openly. When the last few people had finally arrived, one woman asked Shodai-sama, Naidame-sama, why have we been called to this council meeting? The woman in question had pink hair with a red kimono. This woman's name was Haruno Saki. I really wanted to make Sakura get her attire from her family. Both brothers inwardly grimaced that they were the ones who had to tell the woman about Naruto. Might as well get it over with. The two thought the reason that we have called you here is about the boy that we found not a mile from the village gates, he stated, getting the attention of everyone in the room. The boy awoke not an hour ago, and we had Isamu here mind walk him, and the results were truly awesome. The boy has Kekii Genkai that have never existed before and one that I thought was only a mutation, Hashirama said while the council were on the edge of their seats. It appears that the boy has a Kekii Genkai that controls paper, and from what Isamu has told me it has outstanding potential. Amazingly, he has attained the mokuton, and will be able to use it more efficiently than I ever have or will be. At this point the council were ready to start shouting, but if the boy had Kekii Genkai as powerful as what they have been told, then no doubt the last one will be even better. Meanwhile Haruno Saki had to bite her tongue as to not shout out when they were told. Hashirama then continued saying, however, the boy's last Kekii Genkai almost had me faint, as it seems to be a cross between the Sharingan and the rinnegan, the fabled eyes of the Rikudo Sannin. 3, 2, 1. He thought before there was an outburst with people shouting for the boy to be put under the CRA, but the loudest person was Saki, who was almost screeching, Hokage-sama, I demand that this boy be put under the CRA with my daughter. The two brothers released their Ki, making everyone freeze in fear before Tobarama said, you have no right to demand anything in your position, knowing that the boy wasn't going into a loveless marriage from what Isamu had told him. But this did not stop some people, as a few people were still saying things like, but Hokage-sama, these bloodlines would prove to be an intimidation factor against other villages, or but Hokage-sama, this boy could produce a potent generation of shinobi. But this just made the two release more killing intent, making the last few people sit down now that everyone is seated and quiet. The reason is that the boy will have a choice. If he wants to do the CRA, so be it, but he should only marry girls that he loves. This council has gained too much power, and while I have ignored it, I am telling you now that the civilian side should not even be here, as Kekii Genkai are shinobi business, and as of now the civilian council shall not attend meetings for shinobi only, and before you start screaming like 2-year-olds again you are to leave. Anyone who decides otherwise will be executed on the spot, said Hashirama with malice in his voice. The civilian council, knowing better than to stay left in a hurry, Hashirama then continued to explain to the clan heads about the boy before leaving to go back to his office, dreading the amount of paperwork waiting for him. Back in Hashirama's office, Naruto was walking towards Hashirama's office when he saw someone waiting outside. The Shodai's office was a small girl around his physical age. She had dirty blonde hair and was dressed in a small green dress. Naruto then thought that must be Tsunade. Wow, she was a small child, even for a 3-year-old, and he went and sat down to wait for Hashirama. Tsunade, who was wondering who the boy was as she had never seen him before, just stared/glared at him suspiciously and was about to ask him who he was when she saw her grandfather approaching them. Tsunade then got up and ran towards him saying Gigi excitedly, hello Tsunade. How's my granddaughter today? Hashirama said with a fake smile as he was too tired to be genuinely happy. I'm fine Gigi, but she said before looking over to Naruto and whispering, who is that boy? I've never seen him before. Hashirama then noticed that Naruto was sitting there staring at them slightly before he replied, well Tsunade, that boy there is Naruto, and I shall be training him, and the reason that you've never seen him before is that he is new in the village. Tsunade just pouted, thinking, well then I'll have to make sure he knows my name and gives me the respect that I deserve. Hashirama then put Tsunade down, and knowing what she was thinking gave Naruto a bit of time to knock some sense into her, saying I'll be with you too in a minute, I just need to take care of some private business. Tsunade then walked over to him. Hi, my name is Senju Tsunade, and I'm the granddaughter of the Shodai Hokage and grandniece of the Nidain. What's your name? She said with arrogance in her tone. But to her shock, Naruto just replied Uzumaki. Naruto, she then got angry, thinking, didn't this idiot hear what I said before? Asking almost the exact same thing. Naruto just looked up at her. Yes, I heard everything you said, but if you think that I'm just going to respect you because of who your grandfather is, then you are sadly mistaken, he said in a monotone-like voice. This just made Tsunade angrier when she replied, oh shut up peasant, you should be kissing the ground. I walk on in respect. But she didn't get any further as Naruto just glared at her coldly. Respect is earned, not given, he said coldly before continuing, just because you're the granddaughter of the Shodai doesn't mean you'll last a day outside the village gates. He was hoping she would take the challenge just so he could prove it to her. Oh really, she said before leaving. Hashirama then came back out after listening to the whole thing and was about to ask Naruto to go after her, but he was beat to it when Naruto said don't worry, I got her, and he left. Hashirama then closed the door, thinking sorry Tsunade, but you need to learn about the real world and fast. He then turned back to his desk and cried anime tears when he saw that it was about to collapse from the sheer weight of the paper. With Naruto had been following Tsunade from the trees ever since she left the village gates. They had passed the ANBU patrol a little while ago, but Naruto was worried about her as, even though she was only 3 here, he could still see his bachan in the girl. Naruto then felt even more worried as he activated his Jubigan. Oh great, 5 people heading towards her. For ANBU level and Shirakage level, looks like I'll need to use a few strong techniques to get the both of us out of this. Well, guess my cover was only going to last so long. Tsunade meanwhile was thinking, humph, could it last a day out here? Who does he think he is? I'm a Senju. Only the Uchiha can give us a good fight. She stopped when she saw 5 figures drop from the trees. Well boys, look what we have here. It's the Senju Eris. The giant man in the middle said, smirking. Tsunade for the first time in her life was truly terrified. Maybe that boy was right, she thought as she saw the man throw a kunai at he. She closed her eyes and waited for the impact. When she didn't feel anything, she opened her eyes and what she saw shocked her. That's T, the boy from earlier. She couldn't believe it. The boy that she was yelling at earlier had just saved her life. Naruto then looked closely at the man when he realized this is the Sandame. Reikage told you that you wouldn't survive a day out here, Naruto said, turning to her slightly. The man who had recently been elected Reikage not long ago was shocked that Naruto had stopped his kunai. He then turned to his teammates. Storm deal with this pest high Raikage-sama, the four replied, and then went through a series of hand seals. Right on. Rarya no Jutsu, lightning release. Lightning dragon technique, the four shouted. Naruto said Futon. Daitapa, and the four attacks were sent right back. The Raikage was in shock. 4 of my strongest Storm killed by a 4-year-old. This kid is no joke, he thought. You know what, kid? I'm going to enjoy killing you just for that, he said in an infuriated voice. Right on, no Yoroi, he said, and his body was covered in blue lightning. While Naruto just launched 4 kunai around the man. Ha, sorry boy, but your aim is horrendous. The Raikage mocked. Naruto smirked and said, wasn't aiming for you, go for Kekai. And the Raikage saw the seals on it but was just able to get out. Damn, the kid knows Fuinjutsu too. I'll have to kill him fast, he thought as he readied his black lightning to strike the boy down. Naruto just held his arm up. Bansho Tenin, he said, and suddenly the Raikage felt himself being pulled towards the boy before Shinra Tensei, and he was launched through trees and boulders. As he stood up he thought, forget killing him, I can't even hit him. I'll need his name so I can put this kid in the bingo book before I flee. I can't have more of my shinobi being killed by this brat. What's your name, boy? He asked, hopeful of getting the boy's full name. Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto, he said, guessing that the Raikage was going to put him in the bingo book, either that or add him to his to-kill list. The Raikage's eyes widened before he fled in a flash of lightning. Naruto turned back to Tsunade but was met by a bone-crushing hug with her head in his collarbone. When she asked him why he saved her, I knew you would try something like this, and I just didn't have the heart to let you come back crying, he replied softly with a warm smile. Tsunade, realizing how tired she was, fell asleep. Naruto, feeling that the girl earned it, put 2 of his fingers to her forehead and channeled his mokuton chakra into her, giving her the ability to unlock the mokuton. Well, better get back to the village, and with that thought he left. The end. Chapter 3. Training and meeting the Biju. Previously, Naruto turned back to Tsunade but was met by a bone-crushing hug with her head in his collarbone. When she asked him why he saved her, I knew you would try something like this, and I just didn't have the heart to let you come back crying, he replied softly with a warm smile. Tsunade, realizing how tired she was, fell asleep. Naruto, feeling that the girl had earned it, put 2 of his fingers to the girl's forehead and channeled his mokuton chakra into her, giving her the ability to unlock the mokuton. Well, better get back to the village, and with that thought he left. Now, when Naruto got back to the village gates, both he and Tsunade were rushed to the hospital. Not that they really needed treatment since both were Jinchuriki. Oh yeah, I must find out what Biju she contains, he thought curiously. He was so lost in thought about it that he didn't notice Hashirama walk, and Hashirama meanwhile was lost in his own thoughts. Finding someone to train these 2 won't be easy. Besides me, Tobirama or Sarakuen, there aren't many who could give them the rigorous training they'll need. Well, that Tsunade will need anyway. Well, I'd better get the report from Naruto. When he did get the report, however, he was shocked that his granddaughter was almost captured by the new Raikage, and even more so that Naruto had beaten him so easily, something he wouldn't be able to do at his current age. Tsunade then began to stir awake, and tiredly looked around, seeing her grandfather and Naruto staring at her made her remember the night before Naruto saved me. Even when I was trying to force him to respect me, he put it behind him and smiled while saving me. Could he be? No. Bachan says I'm too young for that, but he is kind of cute, she thought with a blush. I'm no good with child talk, so I just made her a bit more mature for her age. Hashirama saw this but ignored it, and put a stern look on his face. Tsunadeheim, do you mind telling me exactly why you left the village? Hashirama said sternly. Tsunade looked down. I wanted to show Naruto that I could survive on my own outside the village gates, and I wandered too far, she replied, ashamed of herself. Well, at least she's telling the truth, he thought while rubbing his temple. Tsunade, do you know how much danger you were in even just stepping out of the village gates? Well, do you? Hashirama asked her while scowling. Tsunade just looked down again, thinking she was going to be punished, but to her surprise Hashirama said nothing. So she looked back up and saw both Naruto and her grandfather were grinning slightly, and was about to ask them what they were grinning at, but Naruto cut her off. Tsunade, Hashirama was listening to our conversation and already knew why you left, Naruto said before Hashirama continued. I just wanted to see if you would lie or try to get Naruto in trouble for it. While I didn't expect the Sandaime Raikage to show up, there was a squad of ANBU ready to be dispatched after a certain amount of time passed to search for you. 2. Tsunade was in awe that the man Naruto had beaten so easily was a man who had killed countless shinobi and was the leader of Kumo, the Uzumaki clan's biggest threat next to Iwa. Hashirama, seeing that his granddaughter was at a loss for words, decided to continue telling her, but after an event like that I'm going to have to train the both of you. It took Tsunade a moment to process this when she realized that after her constant nagging to her grandfather to train her, she had finally gotten her wish, and it only took nearly getting myself killed for him to train me, she thought, chuckling, and I'll get to spend more time with Naruto to get to know him, she thought, but was able to hide her blush this time. Thanks, Gigi, she replied with her voice filled with excitement. Hashirama just smiled at her and said, which means real training, rigorous and not academy training. While Tsunade thought nothing of it, Naruto knew that the man wasn't kidding and wasn't looking forward to the man's torture. Hashirama then turned to leave. Before he turned to the 2 children, come to my office at around 8 a.m. to start training, and Naruto, don't be late, he said before walking out. That evening, Naruto was walking back to Tsukiko's house after he was allowed to leave the hospital, but he felt like something was off. He started looking around trying to find something suspicious, and when he saw nothing, he used his chakra to sense for anyone following him. What he felt though wasn't what he expected. There was a small chakra signature on the wall in front of him. He guessed that either someone was able to hide their chakra really well or they were just around his age, physically. When he got close enough he threw a kunai as slow as he could as not to hurt whoever was hiding, and the person that came out was the last person he expected. The boy had white hair that was almost as wild and unruly as his, and you could see the ninja wire his hands just because of the quantity. Well, this must be Jiraiya, and by the amount of wire in his hands he must have been trying to prank me. Jiraiya, who had a trap set up so he could prank the new kid, was surprised that he had been caught. Who the hell is this guy? Only A and B you can detect me, and even they struggle. He thought, why were you trying to prank me, and better yet, who are you? Naruto said as not to raise the boy's suspicion. I am known by many names, but you can call me the gallant Jiraiya, Jiraiya proclaimed while Naruto's face faltered. He's still doing the same thing he did as a 3-year-old. Now I'd like to know how you were able to find me when even some A and B you have a hard time finding me, Jiraiya said curiously. Then those A and B you weren't censored, Nin, because if they were, they would find you easily, Naruto replied as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. Well then how do I avoid them? Jiraiya asked curiously. Go to the library and look for a book on chakra and look for the chapter for how to mask it, Naruto said, slightly annoyed that his godfather, or rather former godfather, asked so many stupid questions. Now if you don't mind, I need to get home, he said. Is the house really his? Tsukiko's house. Naruto entered Tsukiko's house only to hear someone moaning. He walked upstairs and saw that the door to Tsukiko's room was wide open and saw Tsukiko with a man with purple hair on top of her and kissing her passionately, probably her boyfriend, he thought. When Tsukiko turned her head and saw Naruto she jumped, surprised. Her boyfriend, Akihiro, wondering why she jumped, suddenly looked to his side and saw Naruto, and his first thought was shit, that must be the kid she was talking about. How will we explain this, however? What Naruto said next confused him greatly. Well, Tsukiko, I hope I'm not interrupting anything important. This kid just caught us about to have sex, and he acts like it's normal for him. Tsukiko-chan, you have some explaining to do, he thought, still confused. Naruto didn't give her a chance to answer. I'll be in my bed if you need me, he said, leaving the couple alone. Akihiro looked at Tsukiko. Anything you want to tell me about what just happened, he asked. Well, you see, before Naruto came to Konoha his now deceased parents trained him to be a shinobi, but they had developed a technique like the Uchiha's technique, Tsukuyomi, and they managed to keep him there so long that mentally he's 17, she explained, shocking Akihiro even more to think that a 4-year-old knows everything about what we were doing. Yeah, that sounds weird just thinking it, he thought. The next day, Naruto had gotten up early so he could train with Hashirama, and though he wasn't looking forward to the man's torture, he was excited. When he got there he saw Tobirama waiting outside the door. Hello, Naruto-san, he said ever stoically. Hello, Tobirama-san, is there something you need? Naruto replied, actually I came to show you and my brother this, he said, holding up a bingo book. Naruto looked at him and took it, and saw that one of the page corners was folded over and looked at the page. What he saw shocked him. Name, Uzumaki Naruto. Age, 4 to 5 years. Rank, SS, flea on sight. Hair color, sun-kissed blonde. Affiliation, Konohagaku no Sato. Skills, Taijutsu, unknown, Genjutsu, unknown, Fuinjutsu, Jonin level, info limited, ninjutsu, Kage level. Side note, he has a Dijutsu that lets him control gravity. Note, do not underestimate him just because he is 4'5". This kid faced the Sandame Reikage and had beaten him easily. Dijutsu description, metallic purple with 4 rings and 3 tomo on the first 3 rings, thought to be a cross between the Sharingan and the rinnegan, the legendary eyes of the Rakuta Sannin. Bounty, Kumo, 13,750,000 Ryo dead, 15 million Ryo alive. Naruto looked back at Tobirama and asked him, am I really that popular? Tobirama chuckled slightly. Apparently so, he said. He then looked up to see Hashirama and Tsunade approaching them. You might want to take a look at the bingo book in Naruto's hands, brother, it is rather interesting, Tobirama said to his brother. Naruto gave the book to him and the man's eyes seemed to grow bigger every second. Hashirama took a deep breath and then looked at Naruto. You're more trouble than you're worth, Naruto. You're here not 2 days, and you go off and put yourself in the bingo book as an SS class shinobi, he said, groaning slightly. Tsunade meanwhile looked at Naruto wide-eyed. SS class. Naruto, really, how many more surprises are you going to come up with, she thought. Hashirama then sighed. Well, Naruto, we had better get to unlocking Tsunade-chan's chakra before we do anything else. Follow me to training ground 7, he said. Tsunade ran ahead, but Naruto spoke to Hashirama. You know that when she tries this she'll meet the Kyuubi. I could help her with him. Hashirama thought about this, and said yes, go ahead. Training ground 7. Tsunade was waiting for Naruto and her grandfather, but something was off about her. She could hear whispers in her head. Maybe Gigi will know what they are, she thought musingly when she was brought out of her thoughts. Naruto and Hashirama were approaching her. Alright, first things first, Tsunade-chan. We need to unlock your chakra, he said, and then showed her how to do it when she had difficulty the first time. Hashirama took this as an excuse for Naruto to enter her mind, which she reluctantly let him do. Naruto the channeled Akira's chakra into her, and both became unconscious. Tsunade's mindscape. Tsunade and Naruto opened their eyes, and while Naruto had already experienced this, Tsunade was ecstatic. Whoa, so this is what my mindscape looks like. This is awesome, she said when she looked at Naruto. He was taller and looked more mature. What the hell happened to you? You look like a teenager, she yelled, confused. Our physical bodies have no real meaning in here, and since I'm mentally 17 this is what I'll look like in here for now till I age again, he said, explaining how the mindscape works. Follow me, I think I know why you can't unlock chakra that fast, he said, bringing her down to the seal on her stomach. When Tsunade saw a huge gate, she was wondering what was behind it. When she realized whatever is behind here is sealed inside of me. When they got there, Tsunade was in for a surprise. So my jailer has finally decided to pay me a visit. Unflattered, said a deep growling voice. Hello Kyubi, Naruto said. When Tsunade heard this, she almost wanted to cry. The Kyubi, but Gigi captured and sealed him away into me. She thought, coming to a realization, so there are still mortals not scared of me. I'll have Tio fix that, he said, and went to swipe at the two. Tsunade closed her eyes waiting for the impact, but when none came she opened them. What she saw was a giant red gate, holding the Kyubi's paw in place. Senpo, Myojin, Naruto said with a slight smirk. Kyubi was infuriated. How can this boy use that technique without hand seals, he thought. Naruto then quickly asked Akira, hey Akira-chan, can you come out here? To which she answered, sure Naruto Ku, and now Kurama. That wasn't a very nice thing to do. A woman's voice rang through everyone's ears. And oh, it can't be her, she's meant to be sealed in the moon, Kurama thought desperately. Tsunade turned to see a woman about Naruto's height with silver hair and a slim body. Wow, who the hell is this? And how did she even get in here? Naruto turned to the woman and said, hello Akira-chan, it's nice to see you again. You can't be the Jubi, she was sealed in the moon centuries ago. Kyubi roared. Jubi, but I thought they only went up to Kyubi. Is she sealed inside me or Naruto? Tsunade wondered curiously. Akira just smirked and turned into a giant 10-tailed wolf. Does this take away your doubts, she said before turning back into her human form. Since you're so curious, Kami-chan had me sealed into Naruto-kun here, Akira explained. Now be a good boy and stop messing with this girl's chakra, she said, smiling too sweetly for even Naruto's liking. Kyubi just grumbled and went to sleep. Well Naruto-kun, my job is done here. Good night, she said before vanishing. Naruto then led Tsunade back to her mindscape, looking at her every now and then. Naruto noticed that she never looked up since they left. Kurama, hey Tsunade, are you alright, he asked, concerned for the girl. Yes, she said, barely more than a whisper. Naruto however wasn't satisfied. Tsunade-chan, come on, tell me what's wrong, he said, though he already had a good guess what was wrong. Naruto, am I a demon too, she asked, not looking up. Naruto released a minuscule amount of ki, just enough for her to stop and look at him. Tsunade-chan, you're not a demon, so don't you dare even think that, he said sternly. But the Kyubi eye is sealed in me, she stuttered. That doesn't matter. Listen, if you pour water into a glass, does the glass become the water, he said. She looked at him strangely. No, that sounds stupid, she said. Well then think of it like this. You're the glass and the Kyubi is the water. You are merely the container, he said with a smile on his face. She then smiled at him. Thank you Naruto, she said just loud enough for him to hear her. No problem Tsunade-chan, he said, and then knelt and hugged her in his arms. Tsunade felt safe and protected, and she didn't want him to let go, but she knew they had to return to her grandfather. Eventually Naruto got up and told her close her eyes, and he put his fingers on her forehead, took them out of her mindscape. Real world. Hashirama was patiently waiting for the two to come out of Tsunade's mindscape, but he was worried. Will she understand why I didn't tell her? Will she forgive me? Were just a few of the thoughts going through his head. Naruto started moving and Hashirama looked at him in anticipation. Tsunade then stirred and Hashirama looked at her with worry. His worries vanished when Tsunade smiled at him. She understands, he thought happily. Well Naruto, how was it, he asked. Naruto told him everything and Hashirama was deeply shocked about the story. I seem to be shocked a lot lately, he thought tiredly. Well Tsunade-chan, why don't you try again, he said. She nodded and then tried to unlock her chakra again, only this time she felt a warm feeling and course her body. I done it, she exclaimed happily. Well then let's get started, Hashirama said smiling. The end. Chapter 4. More discoveries and a little surprise. Previously, Hashirama was waiting for the two to come out of Tsunade's mindscape, but he was worried. Will she understand why I didn't tell her? Will she forgive me? Were just a few thoughts going through his head. Naruto started moving and Hashirama looked at him in anticipation. Tsunade then stirred and Hashirama looked at her with worry. His worry soon vanished when Tsunade smiles at him. She understands, he thought happily. Well Naruto, how was it, he asked. Naruto told him everything and Hashirama was deeply shocked about the story. I seem to be shocked a lot lately, he thought tiredly. Well Tsunade-chan, why don't you try again, he said. She nodded and tried to unlock her chakra again, only this time she felt a warm feeling course through her body. I done it, she exclaimed happily. Well then let's get started, Hashirama said smiling. Now 2 months later, Naruto woke up, his muscles still sore from training with the Shodai Hokage. Hashirama, even after 2 months I'm still not used to this body, he thought, annoyed. Still, this training is tougher than training on Island Turtle, so to be able to do this in such an unfamiliar body is impressive, he thought. Naruto had learned a lot in the past 2 months. He had also gotten to know Tsunade better, and much to his surprise she was already trying to become a medic and had even asked Sakiko if she could help her with it. In these 2 months Jiraiya had already tried to prank him 53 times, and he was growing annoyed with the boy's determination. Now I know how the village felt with all the pranks I used to do, he thought, rubbing his temples as he got dressed. I had better get to training ground 7 before Tsunade eats my head off about being late again, he said, remembering when he was late in the first week. She still hasn't stopped berating me. I don't know what she's so worked up about. I mean, I was only 5 minutes late, he thought. After that incident he just put a Haraishin Kanai there so he'll never have to deal with being late again. He then Hiroshined to training ground 7. Training ground 7. Tsunade was sitting next to the fence at training ground 7 waiting for Naruto and her grandfather. Thinking about the past 2 months of training with her grandfather and her crush on Naruto, I've talked to Bachan about, but all she tells me is that I'll know when I'm older. But I can't wait that long. This is driving me crazy. She was so lost in thought that she didn't notice Naruto appear in a flash of yellow light. Naruto, seeing that she was lost in thought, decided to scare her out of it. He proceeded to creep up behind her and put both his hands on her shoulders. Tsunade jumped with a yelp before turning around to see Naruto laughing on at her. "You should have heard yourself," he managed to say in between his laughs. He was then silenced by a huge hammer-like fist hitting his skull. "Hey, that hurt, Tsunade-chan. I was just keeping you alert," he said, rubbing his head. Tsunade just glared at him and turned her head. "What? Giving me the silent treatment now?" Naruto asked. Tsunade didn't answer. Naruto then ducked a punch from behind thanks to a kind of sixth sense from fighting in a war and jumped out of the way. The Tsunade that was in front of him disappeared in a puff of smoke. "She used the shadow clone to try and hit me twice. Not bad, Tsunade," he thought, impressed with the way she had used her shadow clone. Then when the other Tsunade went up in smoke, his eyes widened and he looked up to see her falling towards him, fist poised to strike. At the last moment, he used Kawarimi to switch with a log. Tsunade was about to attack him again when she heard someone chuckling. She looked to her right to see her grandfather standing next to the fence. "Well, you two seem very eager to start training today. You even start before I arrive," he said in an amused tone. "He started it," Tsunade said, pouting. Hashirama just laughed at his granddaughter's antics. Alright, that's enough trying to kill Naruto for today," he said, but still knowing that eventually Naruto would get another few bonks on the head. "Now first of all it's time to increase your weights again," he said, "but they're already at 50 pounds, Tsunade complained. "Oh, so you like me to not just raise them but double them?" Hashirama said with a sickly sweet smile. Nope, I'm good with raising them a small bit," Tsunade said, sweating slightly at the thought of trying to even stand with 100 pounds on each of her limbs. Hashirama just smiled at her, and while Tsunade thought nothing of it, but Naruto knew better. He's up to something, and if that smile says anything it promises torture, he thought, eyeing Hashirama. "Tsunade-chan, I don't remember saying I'd increase the weight by a small bit," he said, grinning madly. "Yep, there's the torture. Well, for her anyway," Naruto thought. Feeling sorry for the girl, Tsunade looked up at her grandfather nervously. "What did you mean?" she asked frightfully. Hashirama smiled again. "Oh, nothing in particular. Just that while you won't be wearing 100 pounds, you will be wearing 90 pounds, he said innocently. It took Tsunade a moment to process this, but when she did, she turned a sickly white. "Wow, she's even paler than Orochimaru," Naruto thought, slightly amused. "Now then, who want to go first?" Hashirama said. Naruto stepped forward. "Might as well get it over with," he said stoically. When Hashirama added the 40 pounds, he almost dropped at the sudden increase of weight, but regained his balance and adjusted to the pressure. "Damn, this body. I'm still not used to it," Naruto thought, annoyed when Tsunade saw that he only nearly fell. She thought, maybe it's not as heavy as I thought." When Hashirama added 40 pounds to her weights, however, she fell to her knees almost instantly. "Looks like I stand corrected. Damn, how the hell can Naruto stand up with this weight?" she thought while lightly panting. "Now that that's done, how about a little spar?" Hashirama said. Tsunade looked at him like he was crazy while Naruto smirked weakly and nodded. "Great, I'll give you 5 minutes to adjust, and then we'll fight," he said. Tsunade tried standing up, but her legs weren't strong enough, and she fell forward again. Naruto was trying to get used to walking around with his extra weight. Gradually walking faster, he looked over to see Tsunade fall back on her knees and came to a realization. Why would he give us time to get used to the weight now when he didn't give us any those other times? Unless he wants us to work together. He walked over to her, and just as she was about to fall back down, he caught her. When Tsunade felt a pair of arms catch her, she almost yelped in surprise. She looked up to see Naruto holding her up and her cheeks tinged red. "Need help?" he asked, smiling. "Sigh, yeah, I suppose I do," she said, chuckling. In one of the trees, Hashirama was watching the two with a smile on his face. "So you figured it out, and in only 15 seconds, not bad, Naruto." Not bad at all, he thought, impressed. Naruto lifted Tsunade back up and helped her walk. She only got a few steps before she fell back down again, and Naruto caught her again. When the 5 minutes passed, both could jog at best and were helping each other along. Hashirama jumped down to the two, smiling again. "Well done, you two. I'm glad you realized that you would only be able to do this if you worked together, but I'm surprised it took such a short amount of time. Now about that spar," he said, grinning at the two. "This spar shall be in taijutsu only. So no Kekkai Genkai, Naruto," he said. Tsunade meanwhile was lost in thought, but only far enough so that she could still hear her grandfather's words. "Naruto realized that we had to work together while I thought he was just being a good friend. I really have to pay more attention," she thought, finally realizing how her grandfather had gotten them to work together. "Well, come at me," Hashirama exclaimed, snapping Tsunade out of her daze. Naruto was waiting for Tsunade to get into her stance, and when she did, they both attacked Hashirama while Naruto tried to catch him off guard with combos, kicks and punches. Tsunade was trying to overwhelm him with powerful strikes to his nerves. Using her weights to work with gravity, Naruto's hands were suddenly covered in chakra. Tsunade was confused since her grandfather said taijutsu only. Naruto smirked and said hien no jutsu and proceeded to attack Hashirama. Smart. The hien is classified as a taijutsu. He thought that was a smart move, Naruto and Tsunade. "If you're confused, the hien is classified as taijutsu," he explained to the girl, seeing the questioning look on her face. They then proceeded to attack Hashirama, and while he was only really dodging and blocking, even that was becoming increasingly difficult as the two got used to the extra weight. Eventually they started getting more hits until he couldn't just dodge anymore, and he started to try and counter them, but when he would try to counter one, the other would get a big hit, mainly at his ribcage. Alright, that's enough for today," he said, panting slightly. "What? But that wasn't even an hour," Tsunade whined. Hashirama chuckled. "Tsunade-chan, you have to remember I'm not as young and fit as I used to be, I'm already in my 60s, he said. Tsunade didn't like it, but she accepted it since he did have a point. Right, we're going to take a week's break before training again, and then we have a month before you two start the academy, Hashirama said. Both Naruto and Tsunade looked surprised. At this, how could I have forgotten the academy? The two thought. Well, Tsunade-chan, you can go to Naruto's house for a while since I have some business to attend to, he said, and then shined away. Tsunade then started walking away, but Naruto grabbed her arm and shined to Tsukiko's house. Tsukiko's house. Naruto and Tsunade appeared in a flash of light inside Naruto's bedroom. Tsunade at first wanted to scream at him, but she suddenly got really dizzy and nearly fell, but Naruto had caught her. Naruto was wondering why she was dizzy when he remembered that when people use the Haraishin for the first time usually feel nauseous. When Tsunade had regained her bearings, she was about to yell, but Naruto covered her mouth. Sorry, that was my fault, but I wanted to test something, he said with a nervous smile. Tsunade looked at him, confused. What do you mean you wanted to test something, she said. Naruto sat her down on his bed and went over to the windowsill and brought back a pot with a seed in it. Tsunade was now extremely confused. Why is he showing me this, she thought. Now, Tsunade, I want you to close your eyes and channel chakra into this, Naruto explained. Tsunade was still confused as to what he was trying to accomplish, but closed her eyes and channeled her chakra into the seed. She suddenly jumped back when she felt something move. At first she thought it might have been a worm in the soil, but then she saw the seed. It's growing, she thought, wide-eyed. Naruto smiled. So, she has already unlocked it. Not too bad, Tsunade-chan, Naruto thought, blushing slightly that he called her that in his mind. He then looked at Tsunade and smiled. Well, Tsunade-chan, it looks like you've unlocked the mokuton, he said. Tsunade smiled and started cheering, saying things such as, I can't wait to tell Gigi, and now people will see me as more than just the granddaughter of the Shodai Hokage. Naruto smiled at her. Great, now she sounds like Konohamaru, he thought. The end. Chapter 5. A turn of events and the academy starts. Previously. Sorry, that was my fault, but I wanted to test something, he said with a nervous smile. Tsunade looked at him, confused. What do you mean you wanted to test something, she said. Naruto sat her down on his bed and went over to the windowsill and brought back a pot with a seed in it. Tsunade was now extremely confused. Why is he showing me this, she thought. Now, Tsunade, I want you to close your eyes and channel your chakra into this, Naruto explained. Tsunade was still confused as to what he was trying to accomplish, but closed her eyes and channeled her chakra into the seed. She jumped back when she felt something move. At first she thought it might have been a worm in the soil, but then she saw the seed. It's growing, she thought, wide-eyed. Naruto smiled. So she's already unlocked it. Not too bad, Tsunade-chan, Naruto thought, blushing slightly that he called her that in his mind. He then looked at Tsunade and smiled. Well, Tsunade-chan, it looks like you've unlocked the mokuton, he said. Tsunade smiled and started cheering, things such as, I can't wait to tell Gigi, and now people will see me as more than just the granddaughter of the Shodai Hokage. Naruto smiled at her. Great, now she sounds like Konohamaru, he thought. Now, 4 weeks later, Naruto was currently sparring with Tsunade, who even after 4 weeks was still excited about unlocking the mokuton. At least she isn't being arrogant about it, Naruto thought. As he ducked a punch, since unlocking the mokuton, Tsunade had been training harder and more frequently than usual, and when Naruto asked her about it, she would just say, to prove myself. Naruto just needed to find out who she wanted to prove herself to. Although Hashirama hadn't trained her to use mokuton that much, the girl was eager to learn, and even to the library in the Senju compound to find it. She came out disappointed because since Hashirama was the only one to obtain it, her clan felt no real reason to write down how to perform them. When Naruto told her more about his jujutsu, and that he would be able to use the mokuton and all other elemental Kekkai Genkai, including the paper release and yin-yang release, well, she was amazed at first, but she was even giddier when she realized that Naruto would be able to train with her. The two of them had been fighting for the past 2 hours, and while Tsunade was starting to pan, Naruto, being used to outrunning shinobi at this age, was still going strong, and although he was in a 4-year-old's body, he could still dodge and block extremely fast thanks to the swift release. Something that Tsunade was getting frustrated about. Tsunade threw in a bad punch which Naruto caught and flipped her onto the ground. Do you yield, he said, smirking jokingly. Yeah, I yield, she grumbled. Naruto helped her up again, still smiling, still getting too frustrated. Tsunade-chan, he said, waving his finger at her, it's hard not to get frustrated when I can't even hit you, she complained. Yeah, but I've been trained in my mindscape as well, he pointed out. Tsunade just crossed her arms and grumbled something like, why can't I do that? Naruto just laughed at her. Come on, Tsunade-chan, we'll be starting the academy in a week, he said, trying to raise her spirits. Normally she would have been excited, but now she just said, but you're going to be the only one who I can't beat now. Now, Tsunade-chan, you shouldn't underestimate anyone after all. How do you think the Raikage feels, he said, chuckling. This made Tsunade laugh. Yeah, I suppose. Imagine how he must feel, the third Raikage beaten by a child not even in the academy, she said. They both laughed at this. Well, I better get back to my clan's compound. Bachan wanted to talk to me about something. See you tomorrow, Naruto, she said as she left. Naruto started walking back to his house. He considered Tsukiko like a sister, and he really enjoyed the medic's company, though she could be a little quieter, he thought. Lately Tsukiko had been rushing out of her bed and had been making a lot of noise and had been throwing up a lot. She just passed it off as food poisoning, but Naruto could see she thought something else was up. Tsukiko's house. Naruto entered the house too and went upstairs to find Tsukiko. He heard more throwing up. She must only be out of bed, he mused. Naruto knocked on the door. Hey Tsukiko, are you alright in there, he asked. Never better, Naruto, she replied before throwing up again. Naruto opened the door and saw her holding something in her hand. His eyes widened when he realized what it was. Tsukiko lifted her head to look at him, and she smiled. In fact, I'm pregnant, she said happily before throwing up again. Naruto smiled. You're pregnant? That's great, Tsukiko-chan, he said excitedly. Well, I might be here for a while. I think there's some instant ramen in the cupboard, she said. Thanks, he replied. Wow, Tsukiko-chan is pregnant. This is definitely a surprise, he thought as he made his way downstairs. As he waited for his instant ramen to cook, he found himself wondering about Orochimaru and Jiraiya. What am I going to do with those two, he said to himself. I'll have to sort that out later, he concluded. 1 week later with Tsunade. Tsunade woke up to her alarm clock ringing. At first she was wondering why she had set it so early. When she remembered, I'm starting the academy with Naruto today, she thought. Excitedly she practically jumped out of her bed and ran into the bathroom to get ready. She ran into the kitchen where her mother, Senju Mariko, was making her breakfast. Morning, Tsunade-chan. You're up early, Mariko said. Yaka-chan, I'm finally going to the academy with Naruto-kun. I can't wait, she said, only realizing what she said too late. So it's Naruto-kun now, is Tsunade-chan, her mother said teasingly. Tsunade blushed furiously. Keika-chan, stop it, she stuttered. Okay, I'll stop, Mariko said, smiling at her daughter. She already has a crush on that boy. My little Haim is growing up faster than I can keep track of, she thought sadly, like any mother would. Well, Tsunade, here's your lunch. Well, since you're ready, do you want to go? Mariko asked her daughter as she handed her a bag. Tsunade grabbed her bag and nodded. Well then, let's go, Mariko said, leading her daughter to the academy with Naruto. Naruto woke up to his own alarm clock, only he grabbed it and threw it across the room. More years in the torture they call the academy. Only this time I'll be bored because I know everything they teach there. Just great, Naruto thought as he got dressed. He was heading downstairs when he smelled Tsukiko's cooking. She's almost as good as old man Ichiraka, Naruto thought as he entered the kitchen. Tsukiko turned around with a plate of bacon, eggs and fried bread. Oh hi Naruto, I was just about to call you, she said as she put the plate on the table. Thanks, Tsukiko-chan, this looks delicious, Naruto said. Well, Naruto, I can say I feel sorry for you having to go back to the academy, Tsukiko said, chuckling as Naruto started shoving food down his throat. Don't remind me, sigh. At least I remembered to pack lunch last night, Naruto said, remembering the times he would go to the academy without lunch, and his stomach grumbled. Tsukiko laughed. Oh come on, it was hardly that bad, she said. Tell that to a guy who eats 20 bowls of ramen a day when he gets the chance, Naruto replied. Tsukiko just laughed again. Come on, you don't want to keep Tsunade waiting like at the training ground, she said. Naruto groaned. No one is gonna let me live that down, he complained as he got a plain black bag and put it over his shoulders and left with Tsukiko. The academy. Tsunade was waiting outside of the academy for Naruto. He better not be late, she thought, starting to think of ways to torture him if he was late. Hey Tsunade-chan, she heard a voice call. Oh well, maybe next time, she thought, chuckling as she saw Naruto and Tsukiko walking towards her. Is this early enough for you, Naruto asked Tsunade mockingly. Sigh. I suppose, she answered. Naruto and Tsukiko just chuckled. Well then, you too, Hokage-sama will be collecting you for training, so see you at 6, Naruto, Tsukiko said, leaving. See you at Tsukiko-chan, Naruto said with a fake smile, while he frowned on the inside. Naruto was about to turn around, but Tsunade grabbed his arm and brought him to the courtyard behind the school where all the other kids were. Tsunade was looking around like any other child would. Gleefully she pulled Naruto again and brought him over to the swing set. You're very excited anyway, Naruto said, chuckling. Of course I am. We're starting the academy, she said happily while swinging. Naruto chuckled. She seems to forget that I'm only in the body of a 4-year-old, he thought. 10 minutes later they heard a bell ringing and proceeded to walk towards the academy doors. All returning students, follow your teachers. The rest of you guys follow me, said one of the teachers. They were led to a classroom by the man, and Tsunade was as giddy as a child on meanwhile was focusing on the teacher. I've seen someone like him before in my time, but where, he thought curiously. He was suddenly, and literally, pulled out of his thoughts as they had reached the classroom and were told to take a seat, and Tsunade had grabbed his arm and dragged him to one in the front row. Why the front row, Naruto complained. Because I'm actually going to listen to the teacher, Tsunade said, taking an edge seat, putting Naruto in the middle. Welcome class, first of all this is the classroom that you are going to learn in for the next 5 years. The seats you are sitting in you will remain in for the rest of the current year, so you will get to sit with other people, the man said. Now my name is Yumino Daichi and I'll be your teacher for the next 5 years. The man, now known as Daichi, said he's Iruka-sensei's grandfather. How many more surprises M4, Naruto thought. Now, how about we get to know each other's names? We'll start with the oldest. So that would be you, Daichi said, pointing towards Naruto. My name is Uzumaki, Naruto, he said. I thought Uzumaki normally had red hair, Daichi asked, confused. My father wasn't an Uzumaki, but he had the stronger genes, Naruto explained. Daichi seemed to accept this and continued to the next student. Now what's your name, he said, looking at a very pale kid beside Naruto. Orochimaru, the boy said. Naruto stiffened when he heard the name. He just had to sit beside me, he thought. Daichi continued to get the names of the rest of the students. It seems we're missing someone, and just as he said that, someone came crashing through the window. It's the gallant Jiraiya, Jiraiya said. Didn't want to make him too much like his older self. You're late, and for breaking the window, you can see me in detention, Jiraiya, Daichi said, causing the whole class, except Orochimaru, Naruto and Tsunade, to laugh. Ah, come on sensei, Jiraiya complained. Just take a seat, Jiraiya, Daichi said, annoyed. Alright class, quieten down, he said. When they didn't quieten down, a vein bulged in his head. I said be quiet, he shouted. Everyone went quiet and stared at the teacher nervously, except Orochimaru, Naruto and Tsunade. Again, he then once again proceeded to get his students' names, and when Tsunade's turn came, and she called her name out, everyone broke into whispers. Now that I've got your names, let's head out to the training ground to rank you guys, he said. Academy training ground. Alright class, this is my assistant, Takahashi Katsumi, and she will be sparing with you so we can evaluate your skill, Daichi said, introducing the girl. First up, Akimichi Cho, he said, and continued through a long line of children till only Orochimaru, Jiraiya, Naruto and Tsunade were left. No, it didn't go in alphabetical order. Jiraiya was first up. Ready, Hajime, Daichi said, and Jiraiya sloppily charged Katsumi and started throwing wild punches and kicks. Katsumi quickly put him on the ground. Kunai at his throat. Dobe, Orochimaru whispered just loud enough for Naruto to hear him. Jiraiya got up and started walking towards the stand, but he heard Naruto talk. You deceptive idiot, Naruto grumbled, smirking, and Jiraiya inwardly frowned. I can't even hide my true strength from him, he thought, annoyed. Orochimaru, Daichi said, and the boy got up, his face ever stoic. Ready, Hajime, Daichi said again, and Orochimaru fell into the standard academy stance and attacked. His punches were quick but not well timed, and just like the rest of the students, it didn't take long to put him on the ground. It just took a few seconds longer. He looked rather disappointed but accepted it, as from what he heard about her the girl was a special jonin in taijutsu senju. Tsunade, Daichi called out, don't beat her too bad. I still have to have a go, Naruto whispered to her. Fine, Tsunade whispered, disappointed. Ready, Hajime, Daichi said, and Tsunade dropped into her grandfather's senju stance that she had learned from him. She then attacked Katsumi with powerful punches that the woman couldn't dodge, but when blocked would weaken her arms. The other students were shocked that even though the girl was a senju, that she was overpowering a woman more than twice her height. Eventually Tsunade knocked the girl down and held an academy kunai to her throat. Everyone but Naruto was surprised, and Katsumi was staring at the girl shocked, and Hokage-sama said she was the weaker of the two. I'm not going to enjoy this, she thought as she got up. Daichi was having the same thoughts but regained focus as the two got up. Winner, Tsunade, he exclaimed, still shocked. Uzumaki, Naruto, he said, and Naruto got up and Katsumi stared at him. I've seen that face before, she thought warily. Ready, Hajime, Daichi said, and Naruto dropped into an unusual stance. Seeing everyone's confused faces, he smirked. Flashback. Naruto was training with Tsunade in taijutsu when his body dropped into an unfamiliar stance. What the hell is going on? Akira-chan, is that you? He thought. Yes. This is my fighting style as a human. I've implanted the katas in your head. Go on, give it a try, Akira said. Naruto started attacking Tsunade, and he beat her easily since she didn't understand the style. The style confuses opponents with fast but powerful strikes and can easily be molded into other styles once you understand it, Akira explained to him, when Tsunade asked him what it was and he told her. She was pouting at how unfair. You were using a style I've never seen before. Naruto just chuckled. Flashback end. Katsumi looked at him. I've never seen that style before, she said. Naruto smirked again. That's because I made it, he said, and took the opportunity to attack her while she was in shock. Katsumi, however, was able to block his first strike because of the way she had stepped back in shock and quickly launched him forward again. This kid really is no joke. He could easily kill me with a style like that if he wanted to. She thought. She was brought out of her thoughts when Naruto said Hien no jutsu and forced her to dodge the attack. Daichi was angry at the boy for using a jutsu and was about to berate him when Katsumi spoke up. Well, you're a smart kid anyway. The Hien is classified as taijutsu and you used it to your advantage. I'm afraid I'm actually going to have to concede this battle, she said, much to Naruto's disappointment and everyone else's shock. Except Tsunade, of course. Daichi once again was in a state of shock. This kid is something else. Amazing, he thought. Winner, Naruto, he said. Once Daichi was over his shock, he told the class to go back inside, but Katsumi walked over to Naruto and asked, okay, I'm almost certain I've seen you before, so tell who we are. You. Naruto gave her the bingo book that the page was marked on and gave it to her. At first she was confused and thought maybe it's his dad I'm thinking of. When she opened it, she dropped the book. Naruto smiled at her. You never really stood a chance, he said, picking the book up, and he walked inside. Katsumi followed him and still in shock. He's only 5 and he's an SS rank in the bingo book, she kept repeating in her head. The rest of the day went on uneventful beside the fact that both Naruto and Tsunade had earned a fan club each. Why do I have to put up with these fanboys/girls? Tsunade and Naruto thought as they were currently being stared at by every one of their classmates as they left the academy. You two look like you had a fun day, Hashirama said, seeing all their classmates staring at them. Well, come on. We have to go to a new training ground today, as thanks to you two Training Ground 7 is under repair, he said, causing both to blush, and with that they left. The end informed me of mistakes. Chapter 6. Genin days again, and new senseis? 9 months later, Naruto got out of bed early to go to the academy and meet Tsunade early. Apparently Daichi and Katsumi had wanted to meet both of them as well as Jiraiya and Orochimaru. Naruto had guessed this was the day they would be told they would be taking the graduation test this year, but he couldn't be certain. In the past year Naruto had formed a rivalry and friendship with Orochimaru and Jiraiya, and the teamwork they had displayed when they fought against him and Tsunade had surprised him. The teachers noticed the teamwork between the four and had asked Hashirama to team them up against 4 ANBU members. The results were that as a team they worked better than what Naruto had told Hashirama about the Sannin, and he had told the four that they were probably going to be a 4-man squad when they graduate. Jiraiya, while he still wasn't into working with books, had improved to low Chunin level when Naruto had taught him how to properly hide himself and fight in taijutsu. Orochimaru had at first been jealous that someone had been better than him, but when he saw the bingo book he had asked to train with Naruto, Naruto could see how eager the boy was to learn new jutsu, and when he asked him what his dream was he answered, the same as his older self would have, only not as creepily. Naruto then asked him to what length would he go to achieve that dream. Orochimaru was speechless, and Naruto had gotten him to give up on it. After half a year of trying to convince him, I couldn't think of anything but this. He had just arrived at the academy when he was attacked by Tsunade. What the hell did I do this time? He asked her. Oops, sorry. I'm looking for Jiraiya and I thought you were him, she said sheepishly. Naruto's eye twitched. Does this hair look white to you? He said. Hey, he put a genjutsu on me, she retorted. Naruto was about to say something else when he heard a small snicker behind him in a bush. Naruto smirked, and, at Jonin level speed, he disappeared and appeared behind the bush. He picked up the boy who had turned out to be Jiraiya. Hey and Naruto. Jiraiya stuttered. Hello Jiraiya. How are you? Naruto said too sweetly for Jiraiya's liking. Fine, he stuttered again. Good. Because you won't be in a few minutes, Naruto said, grinning sadistically before throwing him in front of Tsunade. Jiraiya looked up to see Tsunade cracking her knuckles. Hey Tsunade, he said nervously. Tsunade grinned and stood him on his feet and then punched him back into the ground. Tsunade, that hurt, Jiraiya complained while rubbing his head. Well, you deserve it, Tsunade said, walking back towards the academy. So what did you do this time? Naruto asked, helping Jiraiya up. I tripped over a root and my hand slapped her, but he said. Naruto looked at him, and the slap the back of his head. I have a feeling that it was just the latter, he said. Jiraiya started mumbling something like not fair, monstrous strength, can't beat them. Naruto just chuckled. Come on, we're needed inside, he said. When the two got inside, Tsunade glared at Jiraiya and Orochimaru was smirking. Daichi and Katsumi both cleared their throats, getting the four's attention now. We have called you for today because we believe that you are good enough to take the Genin exams this year, Daichi said, surprising three of the four. Katsumi then stepped forward and handed a slip to each of them. This slip is for taking the test early. You only have to sign it if you want to partake, she said. Then the two senseis left the four to start preparing for their classes. Well, what do you guys think? Tsunade asked. We'll beat everyone, no problem, Jiraiya said carefree. You mean everyone will beat you? No problem, Naruto said. Tsunade and Orochimaru laughed at the comment. Well, Tsunade laughed while Orochimaru chuckled to himself. Jiraiya was about to say something back, but Tsunade cut him to it. I think we should do it. I mean, it's not like we can get much more training from the academy. I agree. Although, they're going to have a hard time finding a sensei to teach us, Naruto joked. Well then, it's settled, Orochimaru said stoically, and the four signed their names. Genin exams day. Tsunade and Naruto were out on the training ground sparing. Tsunade's taijutsu had vastly improved since she entered the academy. She still only got a hit or two when Naruto used his swift release to annoy her, but other than that she made up for it with her determination. She has nearly mastered her water affinity thanks to her granduncle teaching her how to use it, and her mother and grandfather had helped her along with her earth affinity. Her fire affinity was still weaker than she would have liked, but she could do most C rank, and even a few B rank jutsu with it. She even improved the mokuton. Tsunade, however, was extremely excited lately, not only because she would be a genin soon, but she would have a little brother in a few weeks according to her mother, and she had been really excited. Naruto had managed to learn more about not only the mokuton and about Tsunade's monstrous strength, but he also managed to collaborate earth, fire and wind to recreate the dust release. When he first started learning it, he wondered how Mu and Inoki had managed to find the chakra to even do one technique, as even he had felt the incredible amount of chakra that the techniques needed, but he then realized after studying them from the books in the library he had found that all he needed was good chakra control, something he had gotten better at thanks to Tsunade. When Tsukiko had her child, Naruto was happy for her, and he was even happier for her when he found out that she had fraternal twins. He had been so caught up in training he had never asked her about them. The only thing that confused him was that he had never heard of Anko having an aunt, but he put it down to his presence in the past. He had come to terms with the fact that this was now his timeline. Whenever he looked at Tsunade, he had a harder time seeing his Bachan. Even looking at Orochimaru, he could no longer see the jutsu-crazed pedophile but a friend, something that he would have never thought possible before. He still saw his godfather in Jiraiya, but this Jiraiya wasn't always depressed or worried about something. Naruto was about to finish Tsunade when the bell rang. You got lucky this time, Tsuchan, Naruto said smiling, and the two proceeded to walk toward the academy. They met up with Orochimaru and Jiraiya at the exam room entrance and walked in. Very few students stared, as most of the village knew who the four were. Only the more stuck-up students like the Hyuga and Uchiha clan members who just stared in jealousy. Katsumi walked in with another Chunin, both their hands holding stacks of paper. Everyone, please take a seat, Katsumi said. Naruto and Tsunade sat down together. Tsunade had grown quite close to Naruto since the boy had originally saved her from the wreckage. Naruto was just glad that she hadn't become a fangirl, but he did admit he had grown to love Tsunade. You may start your exam now, Katsumi said. Naruto and Tsunade flipped over the test, and both smirked. The two started answering the questions with ease, and Naruto could see that Orochimaru and Jiraiya were answering them easily too. Jiraiya had a shocked face as to how easy the questions were to answer, while Orochimaru's face was impassive. The four of them finished the exam relatively quickly, not to anyone's surprise. Alright, pens down, Katsumi said. Anyone who hadn't finished sighed and put down their pens and disappointedly everyone outside to the training grounds, Katsumi said. Collecting up the papers, everyone walked outside nervously, as the last thing they wanted was to fight Naruto or Tsunade. Katsumi walked up to the students. First up, Katamaru Kichira vs Uzumaki. Naruto, she called. I'll only be doing Naruto's, Tsunade's, Jiraiya's and Orochimaru's matches. Naruto walked up towards Katsumi with Kichiro, who looked like he was about throw up. Ready, Hajime, Katsumi said. Kichiro almost immediately had to block an attack from Naruto. He didn't last long as Naruto's speed far outmatched everyone in Konoha. Winner, Naruto, Katsumi said. This continued until there were only 8 left. Uzumaki, Naruto vs Uchiha Masaru, Katsumi said. Both of them stepped up. Ready, Hajime, you might as well give up now, loser. You don't stand a chance against an Uchiha, Masaru said, smirking arrogantly. Why don't shut up and fight, Team Naruto said in a bored tone. Masaru got a thick mark on his forehead. I'll make you pay for that insult, Dobe, he said, and he charged Naruto. Naruto simply sidestepped and held his knee up for the Uchiha to rush into. The shocked face on Masaru made Naruto grin. Masaru doubled over in pain, gasping for wind. What was that about not being able to beat you? Naruto asked innocently. Masaru shakily stood up. Shut you up, Dobe, he said angrily. Naruto sighed at the Uchiha. Maybe if you weren't so arrogant, you'd be a better shinobi, Naruto said, looking down at the Uchiha. The Uchiha stared at him in anger. I said shut up, Dobe, he shouted, and he turned to punch him. Naruto caught the punch easily and put his arm behind his back and put a kunai to his throat. Give up any movement and you'll slit your throat, Naruto said coldly. Katsumi didn't give him a chance to answer and declared Naruto the winner. Eventually Naruto had beaten Tsunade and Orochimaru. Alright, everyone back inside for the jutsu exam, Katsumi said. The students walked back inside, glad that the worst part of the exam was over. Katsumi sighed as she walked back, and he just couldn't at least give them a chance to win. TCH, typical Naruto, she thought. First up, Akimichi Susumu, she called out again. This continued till Naruto, Tsunade, Orochimaru and Jiraiya were left. Next up, Jiraiya, she said, and Jiraiya walked into the room. Alright Jiraiya, first do the kawarini, she said, and Jiraiya swapped with a nearby chair. Okay. Now use Hen, she said, and this time Jiraiya transformed into Katsumi. Katsumi's eye twitched because the cloths Jiraiya had were not anything like hers. In fact, he made her look more like a stripper. I'll accept it, but do it again, and you'll find yourself in the hospital. Now do the Bushin no Jutsu, she said. Jiraiya then smirked. Kage Bushin no Jutsu, he said, and a single shadow clone appeared next to him. While this was no surprise to Katsumi, the Chunin was shocked, and Katsumi told me that this boy is the weakest of the four, he thought in shock. Note: the Chunin was not outside for the taijutsu. Alright, now is there any jutsu you'd like to do to earn extra credits, she asked him. Jiraiya nodded and started going through hand seals at a speed which the Chunin was again shocked at. Hari Jizo, he said, and his hair started growing all around his body. Okay. Send in Orochimaru on your way out, Katsumi said as Jiraiya's hair reverted back to normal. The Chunin looked at Katsumi like she was mad. That kid just performed a B-rank jutsu. How can you just send him out like it was nothing? The Chunin asked when Jiraiya exited. Katsumi looked at him and smirked because, it's just like I told you. Jiraiya is the weakest if you're shocked at that. Wait till you see Naruto, she said. The Chunin looked at her shocked and thought this team could really become the stuff of legend. Orochimaru entered and Katsumi asked him to do the 3 jutsu and an extra jutsu, and like Jiraiya he performed the 3 jutsu and Suiton Teppadama from the water in a water cooler nearby. Okay, send in Tsunade on your way out, she said to him. Tsunade came in with a smile towards the Chunin that promised shock. Tsunade had performed the 3 jutsu easily, but when she was asked to do another jutsu for extra credit, could we go outside to do the rest? Naruto and I have a big jutsu each we wish to present, she said. Katsumi sighed. They just couldn't even act normal for this part of the test. She thought, fine, but since you're so keen we might as well bring in Naruto first, and then go outside, she said, walking over to the door. Naruto, could you come in here for a second, she asked him. Naruto then walked in. Alright, whatever you have planned, let's get this over with, she said. Naruto nodded and then performed the 3 jutsu. Only unlike Tsunade, Jiraiya and Orochimaru, he did his without hand signs. The Chunin was amazed at this. I can see why he is the strongest of the 4. The kid must be a genius to perform a jutsu without any hand seals, he thought. Okay, let's get this over with, Katsumi said, walking out the door. The rest of the students followed. Sweet. Okay Tsunade, you're up first, Katsumi said. Tsunade smirked. Mokuton Mokujohiki, she said, and a small dome of wood started to form from wood pillars coming from the ground and joined in the center. All the students as well as the Chunin's eyes widened when they saw that Tsunade had inherited the Mokuton. Even Katsumi was mildly surprised. Okay, now Naruto, Katsumi said. Naruto stepped up to the dome of wood and held his hand out. He started to form a rinnegan in his hand, and he almost laughed at the look on everyone's faces. He then pushed the rinnegan into the dome. Everyone but Tsunade thought he had gone mad. The jutsu looked powerful, but surely it couldn't even scratch the special wood of the Mokuton was what was on all their minds. They were even more shocked to see that it not only scratched it but it started to tear the wood to pieces. When Naruto ended the jutsu for everyone to see what the damage was, they saw the warping crater in the wood. He saw that all but Tsunade's jaw was hanging wide open. Naruto, where on earth did you learn that jutsu? Katsumi said. Wide-eyed. Naruto smirked. I created it, he said, shocking everyone even further. Masaru snarled. You're right, Dobe. I bet you're just trying to take the credit from someone else, he said, with a lot of his fangirls agreeing. Naruto smirked. I'm not lying. I created this jutsu after reading a description of a Baijidama, and I only managed to make this technique thanks to my chakra control because it is pure chakra manipulation, he said. Katsumi was even more surprised by this. Even after a year with you, Naruto, you still managed to surprise me, she thought. Everyone walked back inside wide-eyed and their mouths agape. First of all, the top 5 are in 5th Uchiha Masaru, 4th place is Jiraiya, 3rd place Orochimaru, 2nd place Senju Tsunade, and Rookie of the Year Uzumaki Naruto, and finally Kunoichi of the Year is Senju Tsunade. Katsumi said, smiling inwardly. We wish you the best of luck. Come back tomorrow to be placed on a team, she said. Masaru was angered that he was only 5th but kept his mouth shut. Jiraiya, Orochimaru, Tsunade and Naruto were smiling when they saw Masaru's face. Naruto was happy with seeing Masaru's face, but there was something bugging him. Why does he look so familiar? It's almost as if he looks like someone I know. but the only Uchiha I know my age is Sasuke, Naruto thought. The next morning, Naruto was walking downstairs to get his breakfast when he saw Tsukiko burping the twins. Morning, he said, how are you able to sleep through their crying? Yawn, it's torture getting up at 2 in the morning, Tsukiko said tiredly. Naruto smirked because I place reverse silencing seals on all 4 corners of my room. You could blow the place up and I wouldn't awake, he said. By the way, have you chosen names yet? He asked curiously. Actually no. I'm guessing Tsunade didn't tell you, but she wanted to help with the naming since she didn't get much of a chance with Nawaki, who was born about a month or 2 before the twins. Naruto of course was surprised by this, but we have been able to narrow it down to Amaterasu and Madoka for the girl and Katsuro and Kin for the boy, she said smiling. Well, you're right about me not knowing about Tsunade-chan picking the names. But really I'm just happy seeing everyone else happy. Maybe the war won't be as bad as the one in my time, Naruto said hopefully. Well, I'm off to the academy, see you later, Naruto said leaving. At the academy, Naruto entered the academy to be placed on a team when a thought just hit him. Hashirama-sensei never told me exactly who our sensei would be. The feeling was nagging at him for who their sensei would be, but he would find out soon anyway. He entered his classroom for what he hoped would be the last time. He walked up and sat down beside Tsunade. Morning, Naruto-kun, Tsunade said. Oh, so it's Naruto-kun, is it? Tsunade-chan. Naruto teased. Tsunade blushed slightly when she realized she called him kun, but she secretly liked his little teasings. Hey Naruto, Jiraiya said behind him. Naruto looked at him before turning to Tsunade. Hey Tsunade-chan, did you hear something? Because I could have sworn I heard something, he said, making Tsunade laugh, and Jiraiya grew a tick mark. Heh. That's the sound of a pervert, Naruto Orochimaru said, walking up to the 3. I'm not a pervert, I'm a super pervert, Jiraiya retorted. Katsumi walked in at that point with the still unnamed Chunin. Everyone please take your seats, Katsumi said. Team 1, she started, continuing through the unimportant. Team 7 is a special team, so I'll announce that last. Team 8 is Uchiha Masaru, Nara Hisashi and Tatsumaka Minori. Your sensei will be Yamanaka Hana. Team 9 is Inuzuka Norio, Hyuga Ryo and Abirame Koton. Your sensei will be Karama Shoichi. Now as for Team 7, it is made up of 4 of the top classes, and as such Orochimaru, Jiraiya, Senju Tsunade and Uzumaki Naruto are to go to the Hokage Tower to meet their sensei. The rest of you are to wait here till your senseis arrive, she said before disappearing in a puff of smoke. Gigi just loves to make us work, Tsunade grumbled. Well, who said we can't keep him waiting? Naruto said. I said so. Now come on, Tsunade said, walking out the door. Hokage Tower. Hashirama, Tobirama and Tobirama's student Sarutobi Hiruzen were waiting in the Hokage Tower for Team 7 to arrive. I will be calling them that when using all their names. Hiruzen was skeptic on the thought that his predecessors were willing to try this, but when he asked why, the 2 just smirked at him. The doors burst open suddenly when Jiraiya was sent through them. I'm going to kill you this time, pervert, they heard Tsunade burst through the rubble, and was about to pummel Jiraiya into the ground when, to Hiruzen's surprise, her hand was stopped by Naruto, who had used the Hiraishin to get there. Now Tsunade-chan, there is no need to kill him. Especially in front of your grandfather, he said. Tsunade just grumbled something about a lucky pervert before releasing her arm from Naruto's grip. Orochimaru entered the room. Has she killed him yet? He said, snickering. Now Hiruzen was extremely confused. How the hell is this team meant to work together, he thought. When Jiraiya managed to pick himself up, Hashirama decided to speak up. Well, now that your little incident is over with, maybe we can continue, he said. So, who exactly is our sensei? Naruto asked curiously. Hashirama smirked. Well, as the top students of the class, you will have more than one, he said. Naruto was confused at this. If we're going to have more than one sensei, and the look on his face is anything to go by, then that must mean. He didn't get to finish that thought when Hashirama spoke again. Your senseis shall be all 3 of us, he said, shocking them. Well, this is an interesting turn of events, Naruto thought. The end. Chapter 7, A Great Team, to Become Legend, continued straight from last chapter. Naruto was mildly surprised that the 3 Hokage would be teaching them, but when he looked at Tobirama and Hashirama, he could see that they had something planned. He looked to his side to see Tsunade, her mouth agape. He could see that Jiraiya looked like he was about to faint, while Orochimaru's eyes were as big as dinner plates. He looked towards Hiruzen to see a very confused face, probably wondering how this team is going to work together, he thought. Naruto then smiled. What's the catch, he said. He could see Hiruzen look toward his teachers as if he wanted an answer as well. You have to work together to beat the 3 of us, Hashirama said. Hiruzen's eyes widened. Surely no matter how strong these 4 are, they couldn't beat even one of us, he thought. Naruto just grinned. When do we start, he asked. Hashirama smiled. Meet us at training ground 7 in 10, he said before the 3 shined away. Once Naruto managed to get his team recovered from their state of shock, the 4 ran to the training ground. Training ground 7. When they arrived at the training ground, Naruto felt a wave of nostalgia come over him as he looked over to see 3 wooden posts. Great memories, he thought, remembering his first time being here. He looked over to see Hashirama talking to Hiruzen. Probably that he is to take us seriously, Naruto thought, chuckling silently. Hashirama looked over to see that they had arrived and told them to stand by the posts for a minute. After he had finished speaking to Hiruzen, he and his brother walked up to them. Alright, first of all, your limitations, Naruto. No Kekkei Genkai, and no inhuman strength, Tsunade. No mokuton and no inhuman strength, he said. The 2 nodded, though Tsunade did it looking slightly depressed. Now this will be a test of exactly how well you can work together. You have 3 hours to defeat us. Ready? Go, Tobirama said before he jumped back to Hiruzen with his brother. Naruto looked at Tsunade, Jiraiya and Orochimaru, and the three nodded. Naruto moved in to attack the three while Jiraiya gave him support, and Tsunade and Orochimaru started to flip through a very long series of hand signs at a rapid pace. Naruto and Jiraiya were busy holding back Tobirama and Hiruzen when Tsunade shouted for them to get out of the way. Suetun, Suiryu Kabaka no Jutsushi and Orochimaru said as a series of water bullets burst from a whirlpool that suddenly appeared. Tobirama had managed to use a water shunshin, but Hiruzen wasn't as lucky. He was launched into the sky when a water dragon formed from the water bullets and crashed into him, before bringing him to the ground and exploding. Tsunade and Orochimaru smiled before they had to defend themselves again against Tobirama. Naruto and Jiraiya meanwhile were attacking Hashirama, covering each other's weaknesses and improving their strengths. Then Hashirama's eyes widened suddenly, and he jumped to his right, just before he crashed into his brother, who got a surprising kick in the back. Hiruzen crawled out of the small crater that the dragon created and had a look of complete shock on his face. These kids are definitely no joke. He thought he didn't get much more time to think as Orochimaru and Jiraiya charged him while Naruto and Tsunade teamed up to fight Tobirama and Hashirama. He could hold them off for a while and counter when possible, as they weren't as strong as Naruto or Tsunade, and their reflexes weren't as quick, something he was grateful for. Naruto and Tsunade meanwhile had been locked in a vicious battle off speed and strength with Tobirama and Hashirama, while under normal circumstances they wouldn't be struggling. The two older Senju had experience on their side, much more than Naruto and Tsunade, and as such knew each other's weaknesses better. Naruto knew that they wouldn't last long if this kept up and started to devise a plan for a counterattack. His eyes widened when he realized he almost slapped himself for being so stupid. He told Tsunade to jump back as he did so himself. He then formed a single hand sign and Tsunade immediately knew what he was trying to do. She then formed the same hand sign and the two shouted Kage Bushin no Jutsu, and the whole area became covered in smoke. When the smoke cleared, there was hundreds of Narutos and Tsunades on the field. Both Tobirama's and Hashirama's eyes widened before dropping back into their taijutsu styles. They then started to fight their way through until, after 5 minutes, there were only two remaining. Nice try you two, but it'll take more than that to beat us, Tobirama said with a rare smile on his face. Naruto and Tsunade smirked before disappearing in a puff of smoke as well. Doton, Shinjuzanshu no Jutsu, two voices called out. The two were so shocked that they didn't have time to jump away and they were pulled into the ground. Naruto then smirked when he saw them try to shunshin themselves out. I placed an anti-shunshin seal on the both of you when you were busy fighting the Bushin. The only way you're getting out is by giving up, he said, shocking the two older shinobi. Well done you two, this team is definitely going to be a success, Hashirama said, genuinely impressed. I agree, this test is over. Seeing as how Sarachan is struggling with the other two, Tobirama said with a sense of humor and pride. Naruto looked over to see Hiruzen starting to lose the battle. He almost started laughing at the look of shock on Hiruzen's face. Then again, he wasn't expecting us to be this strong. Maybe he'll be better prepared next time, he thought as Orochimaru finished him with a kick to the back. Well done you four, be at the tower at 7 for your first mission, Hashirama said. Loosening his stiff neck, Naruto could then hear him murmur, I'm getting too old for this, and he chuckled before following his team back to the village. The next morning, Naruto got up early to meet Tsunade again. She'll be the death of me having me get up this early, he thought sleepily. As soon as he walked out his door, he was hit by a loud cry. No wonder Tsukiko-chan looks terrible lately. This crying could wake the dead, he thought as he covered his outer ears with chakra, blocking out most of the sound. He had just walked into the kitchen when he couldn't hear the faint crying anymore, so he released the chakra. Morning, Naruto, Tsukiko said while feeding one of the babies. Morning, Tsukiko-chan. You don't look too well, he said. You try getting up at 2 in the morning to feed 2 hungry infants, she said tiredly. I think I'll pass, he said, chuckling. Suit yourself, she said. Naruto laughed silently to himself at the fact that she was complaining at something she had wanted so badly. Well, I'll see you 3 later. After all, I don't want Tsunade-chan to kill me, he said, shivering. Tsukiko just laughed. Hokage's tower. Naruto arrived at the Hokage's tower, and almost immediately he saw Tsunade glaring at him. What have I done this time, he asked her, confused. He checked his watch. I'm an hour early. What else could she want, he thought. Alright, tell me, what have I done wrong this time? I'm an hour early, he asked again, still confused. Tsunade just mumbled something. What, he asked. I was here 2 hours early, she said with obvious annoyance. Naruto would have laughed but knew better. While the girl liked to be early, no one wants to be up 2 hours early for no reason. They started talking about what mission they might get, but Naruto knew that you had to do at least 20 D-rank missions before doing any other mission, so he made a bet with Tsunade, and she took it. About 40 minutes later, Orochimaru arrived. Was running away from several ANBU with Jiraiya, screaming, how the hell do you get me into these situations, you idiot? This seemed to cheer Tsunade up a bit, as she chuckled to herself. Cheering up, are we, Tsunade-chan? Naruto said, making her pout and blush slightly. After losing the ANBU, Orochimaru and Jiraiya jumped down next to them. Lightly panting, Hashirama and Tobirama arrived not a moment later and instantly knew that the two had been up to no good. The 6 walked into the tower and went up to the mission room to see Hiruzen with a couple of Chunin sorting out missions for the day. Morning, Sensei, Hiruzen said, only giving a small glance towards them. Caught up in his work now. First of all, while the 4 of you could probably take on an S rank, the rules say that you need to have at least 20 D ranks to do any other mission, he said, making 3 mouths hang open. Tsunade grumbled before handing Naruto's outstretched hand 10 ryo. Everyone looked at them strangely, but with Naruto's smirk and Tsunade's sour expression, everyone had the generally same thoughts of Tsunade lost another bet. Well, then we might as well get this over with, Naruto said. 3 hours later, Team 7 walked into the tower again. the four with sour expressions on their faces as they faced their senseis. That was cruel, Tsunade said, making the three older men laugh. Maybe, but now you can do a real mission and not chores, Hashirama said, laughing. Alright, A rank. A new country is starting up, Wave Country. You're to go and protect them while they set up their village, he said. How long will it take, Naruto asked. Well, they already have the resources, so I would say about 2 weeks. Maybe 3, Hashirama said. Naruto's eyes widened slightly. But only Hashirama and Tobirama noticed. Anything else we need to know, he asked. Just that several A-rank Chunin have been hired. The leader isn't known and that they, for an unknown reason, are desperate to keep the village from being formed. Naruto seemed to take this in and ponder on it for a couple of seconds, which surprised Hiruzen, an adult's mind in the body of a child. Incredible, he thought. After a couple of seconds, Naruto accepted it. When do we leave, he asked. We, as in you four and me, Tobi and Hiruzen, need to stay behind for the village. And in an hour, go gather your requirements, and meet at the main gate at 11, Hashirama said. The four left quickly to prepare. Naruto and Tsunade had already met up at the main gate after 10 minutes. You know, if you keep making me come this early to everything, I'll become an insomniac, Naruto said. Tsunade glared at him mockingly while pouting. Not my fault, you're as lazy as a Nara, she said, looking away. Oh, but I already work so hard at training and sleeping, Naruto said in fake hurt. 3 seconds later, the two burst out laughing. If I didn't know you, I'd really swear you're a Nara. You're a lazy genius like the rest of them, Tsunade said in between laughs. Well, maybe I wouldn't be so lazy if I got an extra hour or 2 in bed, Naruto said. They continued talking for about 45 minutes when Hashirama showed up with Jiraiya and Orochimaru ready to go. Hashirama asked. Team 7 nodded and they left on the way. Naruto noticed a puddle at the side of the road, exactly like when I first came here, he thought. He then saw an obvious genjutsu over them as he neared it. Really, they must be really weak if that's all they're using, he thought. Suddenly 3 figures popped out and fired 3 kunai at Hashirama, Tsunade and Naruto. Hashirama and Tsunade dodged while Naruto, who had activated his Mangekyo rinnegan, burst into a flock of crows, shocking everyone but Hashirama. He then appeared behind the 3 and removed 2 of their souls. The third one jumped away only to find that Naruto was nowhere to be seen. His eyes widened as he looked down. A hand with a ball of what looked like rotating chakra went right through his chest. He would have asked how but didn't get the time as the hand drew back, ripping his already leaving soul out. What the hell was that, Jiraiya shouted. Naruto looked at him confused. What he asked. That weird crow thing, Jiraiya said. That was a genjutsu and a substitution rolled into one, Naruto explained. The rest of Team 7's eyes widened at this. Hashirama looked like he was ready to start laughing at their faces when he remembered the mission. Who hired them, Naruto, he asked. The water daimyo, Naruto said, shocking everyone. Hashirama's eyes widened when he realized something. There have been rumors that there has been a new water daimyo elected, that he is nothing like his deceased uncle, corrupt and power-hungry. Starting a new country in Water Country would mean that he has less power, he said. Naruto nodded. That's not what gets me. He was going to pay these 3 Chunin, who were only genin when they left, 650,000 ryo for killing anyone that crosses over to Water Country, shinobi or civilian, he said, making everyone gasp loudly, except Hashirama, who gasped silently to himself. We need to get there fast, Naruto said. Team 7 nodded and turned to continue. 2 hours later, Team 7 and Hashirama were walking up to a lake where a man was waiting. Hokage-sama, I was beginning to think you weren't coming. Wait, why are these kids here? The man asked. Do not worry, Tadashi-san. They are more than capable, Hashirama said, hiding a smirk at the twitch in his granddaughter's eye. When they reached the end of the lake, Naruto heard a noise that sounded like someone ran out of a bush. He saw that Hashirama heard it too but kept it to himself, so Naruto decided to do the same, but channeled chakra to his ears. The 5 continued to walk and Naruto heard the noises again. They were so faint this time that only he had heard it thanks to the chakra channeled to his ear. He then heard a faint whizzing noise. His eyes widened. Everyone get down, he yelled. They all jumped to the ground and not a second later a load of ninja wire was seen where their heads once were. Damn it, we missed, a deep voice said. Well duh, they're still alive. A lighter but still deep voice said. Team 7 got up and got back to back. Naruto with Tsunade and Orochimaru with Jiraiya. Naruto turned his Mangekyo rinnegan on, and immediately yelled move. Team 7 jumped away from where they were standing and 3-4 hands came out of the ground that they once stood on. Heh, these kids are good, a feminine voice said. Naruto looked around to see if anyone would ambush them, and fired a kunai towards a bush. Damn it, the deep voice said in surprise. Who are you? Naruto asked cautiously. The 3 voices chuckled and 3 figures appeared in front of them. The first was a large, bulky, bald man. My name is Geijo Mamoru, he said. The second was a tall but still a well-built man. My name is Senso Shin, he said. The last was a young woman, around 20, with a tomboyish look. And my name is Emerito Tomiko, she said. And we have been hired to kill you, Mamoru said. Naruto snorted. If you think you're good enough, let's dance, he said, making Hashirama chuckle. The 3 were about to laugh when Naruto rushed forward at a speed that they could barely keep track of. Shit, this kid is good, Tomiko thought. Naruto meanwhile was getting bored and decided that he would put on a little show. The fight eventually got to where the 3 had him at point blank. Now you're dead, kid, Shin said, and just as his sword was about to decapitate Naruto, he burst into a flock of crows. All of their eyes widened as they didn't get the chance to turn around, as they were stabbed through their hearts with what looked like a spiraling ball of chakra. As they fell, Naruto dispelled his Kagebushin. You took your time, Tsunade said, bored. Hey, you're not the only bored one here, Naruto replied. Hashirama chuckled to himself at this. Come on, time doesn't wait for us, he said. They continued up to a large clearing where there was the startings of a village. Hashirama-sama, you're here. Wait, I asked for Jonin. Not kids, the man said, confused at why he would bring 4 children who didn't even look 7. You must be Takahiro. And these kids are the strongest team that Konoha has ever produced. One is already in the bingo book, Hashirama said, making the man, now known as Takehiro's, eyes widened. Takehiro sighed. Fine, follow me, he said, leading Hashirama to the only fully built house in the clearing. Recently, while we were trying to set up our village, that we got permission from the former water daimyo. His nephew doesn't want to give us this land as it means less income for him. What he doesn't realize is that we already own the area and it is an act of war to keep attacking us. So we have hired you for this job, Takehiro explained. This will be a long 2 weeks, Naruto murmured just loud enough for Hashirama to hear him. Well, why don't you get your guys to start, and we will scout the area, Hashirama said. Takehiro nodded and walked outside to tell his men to start working. Hashirama then turned to Team 7. Orochimaru, you take the west with Jiraiya, Naruto, the east. Tsunade, you'll take the south, I'll scout the north, he said. Team 7 nodded and left. What they didn't know was that they were in for the fight of their lives, so far anyway. The end. Chapter 8. The Battle of the Waves. Team 7 had met up in the village after scouting around. Except Hashirama wasn't with them. Where could he be? Naruto thought. Gingerly they heard a loud noise coming from the inside of the only fully built house and rushed inside. There they saw Hashirama yelling at a man who was tied up, a hole in the wall with a crowbar wedged in it. Naruto immediately knew that this man was either a spy or a hired shinobi sent to kill them, and he was being interrogated. What were you sent for? Hashirama roared at the man. The man chuckled slightly. I told you, I'm not saying a word, he said. Coughing from his injuries, Hashirama then took notice to Team 7. Naruto, would you be able to get him? Break, Hashirama said, making the man laugh. You think that a mere child will be able to do something? You, a legend in your own right, couldn't, he said, laughing and spluttering his blood out. I don't need you alive, so yes, Hashirama said, allowing Naruto to step up. The man was smirking and looking into Naruto's eyes. In an attempt to scare him, Naruto just whispered something before driving his hand straight through the man's chest. The man looked surprised before he felt something being pulled out as the Naruto's hand retracted. He looked in horror as he saw a transparent essence come out of his body before his eyes grew heavy and he closed them. For good, Naruto processed the info he got from the man before his eyes widened. Damn it, we don't have much time, Naruto shouted, suddenly making the others jump. What are you talking about, Naruto? Hashirama asked with worry. We need to get the area locked down. The water daimyo has sent an army of mercenaries and shinobi. He's even coming himself, Naruto said, making everyone's eyes widen. He's getting desperate. He really doesn't want to give this land up, Hashirama said. How close are they? He asked Naruto. 5 minutes, he replied. Damn it, we need to get out now. Naruto, Tsunade, secure the perimeter with shadow clones. Orochimaru, gather the workers and bring them all in here. Jiraiya, set up seals around the building. I don't want them sneaking in when we aren't looking. I'll also stay back to protect if necessary, Hashirama commanded quickly, with Team 7 following the orders like ANBU. What shall happen now, Hokage-sama? Takehiro asked nervously. To put it simply, a massacre, Hashirama replied grimly. Takehiro's eyes widened. You should get inside, Takehiro-san. This won't be pretty, Hashirama said, his eyes gazing over the clearing that would become covered in blood in only a few minutes. Takehiro nodded and walked inside with the rest of the civilians. A few minutes later, Team 7 regrouped and faced the direction that the army was going to come from. The emotions on their faces varied. Jiraiya had a look of nervousness, his face covered in beads of sweat. Orochimaru's face was emotionless, except his eyes, which showed his fear of what might happen. Tsunade was glancing towards Naruto with worry evident on her face, but Naruto's expression was what made her confidence grow. Naruto had his war face on, his eyes showing experience in battle. Not as much as she had seen in her grandfather, but experience nonetheless. Hashirama could see the looks on 3 of his students from where he was standing on the roof and frowned while he knew Naruto was ready for this. The others weren't used to seeing bloodshed. Naruto had indeed killed in front of the 3, but there were 2 problems with this. 1, they never actually saw blood spilled, and 2, and probably the most important, they themselves had never killed. Seeing someone killed is one thing, doing it yourself is another. Another thing that worried him was that while he was probably the best shinobi since the Rikudo-Sennin, he was getting too old to fight. He knew he wasn't in his prime, and that made him worry for both his family and village, as Tobirama wasn't much younger. He knew that while Hiruzen was strong, he was inexperienced and people would hardly take Naruto seriously. He could see Naruto staring directly where the army of mercenaries, from where he was standing. Maybe if they rise through the ranks quickly enough will help people take their opinions seriously, he mused to himself. Naruto could feel the negative emotions of everyone around him, but when he felt Tsunade's emotion grow positive, he assumed that she unconsciously sensed his emotion and gained her confidence. He could see the army in the distance, led by a man with dark blue robes and many jewels. The man who he guessed was the current water daimyo. This is going to get ugly, he thought. Not changing his expression, the water daimyo and his army of mercenaries were now only 100 yards away. The smirk on the daimyo's face was one-off arrogance. This is the protection that supposedly defeated 3 fully grown men, he said, making the mercenaries laugh. Team 7's expression didn't change. Seeing this, the daimyo scowled. Alright kiddies, I'll give you one chance to get out of my way before I kill you, he said, releasing ki on them. Expecting them to run away screaming, to his surprise they didn't even blink and instead fell into their taijutsu stances. He scowled once more before saying 2 simple words. Kill them. His army rushed towards the 4 kids and to his surprise, the kids charged too. Naruto started punching and kicking the mercenaries out of his way, solely intent on killing the daimyo, but not forgetting to keep an eye on his teammates, his whole body soaked in their blood. Tsunade, Orochimaru and Jiraiya were working in sync just so they could keep up with Naruto. They were, like Naruto, covered in blood only not as much. The three felt like throwing up but held it back for fear of getting killed while they released their meals from what felt like the last few days. Naruto began using his rinnegan to keep their path clear, and they made sure to follow it, and not get lost in the sea of blood. Get back now, Naruto yelled at the three. They immediately looked back to see Naruto jump back with them. Naruto could see the look of utter horror on the daimyo's face for a split second before the man regained his composure. I'll admit, you're pretty good, Gaki, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to end this, the daimyo said. Naruto suddenly found himself in front of the man, bound with ropes, and Jonin with his headband standing beside him. The daimyo grabbed a sword that was latched onto his waist, and pulled it out with a hiss. Naruto began to chuckle. The daimyo thought this was strange but just said to himself softly, at least I'll kill him before he goes mad. He brought the sword crashing down to Naruto's shoulder, hearing the screams of the boy's teammates, when he burst into a flock of crows, causing the Jonin to fall and take the hit on his leg as well. The daimyo pulled his sword out in shock. Where had the boy gone to was the thought on his mind. Team 7 meanwhile all had looks of relief on their faces. Tsunade was going to kill him later and Naruto knew it, but for now, the mission came first. He created hundreds of Kagebushin and told them to kawarimi and henge with various items around the daimyo, from twigs to leaves to rocks. He then jumped over the boulder he was hiding behind. The daimyo was surprised to see him but smirked. That was a nice little trick, kid, but it ends here. You're still heavily outnumbered. Give up, he said. Naruto smirked himself, forming the horse hand sign katan. Goka Makyaka, he said. The daimyo was in a state of shock at seeing such a powerful jutsu, that even against the stronger element that the Kiri shinobi were using, it still kept coming until his army was cut in half. By this time most of his mercenaries were running away, but he still had nearly all the shinobi, who were either current jonin or war veterans. You're good, kid, really good. But this is where it ends, the daimyo said before ordering his men to charge. Naruto picked up one of the swords from the deceased jonin, and charged the men. As he did he activated his rinnegan, and to his surprise, time seemed to slow down. He stabbed and decapitated the men with ease. To everyone else's eyes he was moving at a heart-stopping rate, killing the men so fast that they only saw him as he withdrew his sword from their guts. Naruto then reached the middle of what remained of the army, shinobi. He started to counter each jonin by using one man's sword to block another's before putting him in an armlock and ramming the man's sword through his lungs. He then ducked under a mace another man used, the mace ramming itself through another's stomach, crushing his liver as well. Naruto then drove his sword through the man's throat, and pulled it out just in time to duck a halberd one of the veterans used. Due to the man's experience, however, Naruto didn't get a chance to counter as he jumped back from the man. A blade attached to his boot that came swinging where Naruto's head once was. The man jumped back to the daimyo, who noticed that he only had 30 veterans left. Naruto knew that these men would prove the most difficult as their sheer experience gave them an edge over him. He was panting slightly, and there wasn't one part of his cloths or the ground beneath him that wasn't drenched in the blood. The fallen men that lay at his feet, he could see his team had stayed well back and out of range of the carnage, but they too were covered in blood from the mercenaries that decided to stay back attack them after running away from him. Will definitely have earned a nickname after this, he thought as he looked back towards the last 30 men who stood beside the daimyo. Naruto coughed a bit. Having swallowed some of the other men's blood, I really have to stop limiting myself like this. Using Shinra Tensei would be so much easier. Guess I won't get much stronger just using that though. Oh well, he thought to himself, annoyed. He picked up another sword and held them both, to his surprise, like a kenjutsu master, but he just put it down to his instincts. It happened before on several occasions with different situations, so why not now? He then noticed that the swords were vibrating. He was curious, and unknowingly channeled some of Akira's chakra into them. They suddenly expanded until they were long and sharp enough so he could stay out of range but still easily pierce someone with the blade. The 30 men and the daimyo were surprised to see the swords change, and while the daimyo passed it off, the veterans became tense from the chakra that was only visible to the trained eye. Its potency and the pure ki that surrounded it was worrisome and put them on edge. Naruto charged them head on and let his instincts do the fighting. The sound of metal clashing screeched through the air. Naruto was blocking and parrying the men's weapons, swords, kunai, sais, or whatever else they used. He managed to counter the men like he did with the rest earlier with extreme difficulty, but he still managed. Soon only one man remained standing. The mask he wore fell to the ground. Naruto was surprised to see who this man was, as he expected an old veteran by the way the man held himself. He was looking at the future Sandaime Mizukage, Terumi Masanori, the grandfather of the Godame Mizukage. Terumi Mei. He charged the man, and while he didn't want to kill him, he did want to leave a reminder. He drove his sword through him, just under his collarbone, barely missing any organs or bones, and let him fall. Masanori stood back up shakily before he ran away, leaving the daimyo with nobody left to defend him. The daimyo fell to his knees in fear. You're right, Naruto said. It does end here, he said before plunging both his swords straight down the middle of his collarbone on each side. Just as his soul was about to leave his body, Naruto grabbed it and gained his memories. Before letting it go, he withdrew his swords from the now deceased daimyo. Letting the man fall, he closed the man's mouth and eyelids before walking back towards his team. Just as he reached them, he fell to one knee, realizing how tired he was. Well, pant, I could do, pant, with some, pant, should I, he said before collapsing. Hashirama came down from the roof having seen the entire thing. Good work, Team 7. This will be rewarded with S-rank pay. You should wash up and get some rest, he said softly to them. Picking Naruto up, the three conscience members simply nodded and walked down to the river to wash off. Not easy since a lot of the dead bodies fell in and made the water bloody. They walked back up to the village foundations and into the building. The job wasn't complete yet, so they might as well get some rest. 3 days later, Naruto had regained his consciousness after the first day and for the first time, got to see the bloody massacre that he had created. A scar that would never leave the land because of the sheer amount of blood. Even though Hashirama had asked a few of the women to clean his cloths and skin, he still had a lot of blood covering him. His hair was crusted with it, and his cloths were now practically the color of blood as if they always were. He saw that the people of the new village were still clearing the bodies of various bandits, and shinobi alike. Did I really do all of this? He thought. He walked around and the people of the future village were smiling, almost conflicted with emotion, at him. Not that he could blame them. After all, not many 6-year-olds are used to killing or the sight of the bloodbath that would forever stain the land. Then again, even his 17-year-old mind wasn't ready for it. Only through his instinct did he endure it. The mission and his teammates came first. His problem with the mission came later. He saw Hashirama talking to Takahiro with a serious look on his face. They were right by the lake that lead to the ocean. Takahiro didn't look too happy either. Wonder what that's about, Naruto thought curiously. Hashirama saw Naruto and gave a dismissing wave to Takahiro. Naruto walked towards him. So, what's going on? He asked the elderly Hokage. Hashirama looked grimly over the lake's horizon. War, he stated softly. One word. That was all that was needed to make things go from getting better to worse. How bad? Naruto asked, looking into the man's eyes as he turned back to face him. The great shinobi. War. Bad was the chilling reply. He got the first war in his time was over the Bijuu, so it didn't happen in this time. But if Naruto were to guess, this war would be like the Second Great War. Do they know yet? Naruto asked. No, but Tsunade has shared her suspicions with Jiraiya and Orochimaru. Hashirama. Naruto looked at the man with sympathy. He could tell that Hashirama didn't want Tsunade to know, but she had always been bright. It wouldn't take long before she figured it out. You might as well tell them now. It'll save you the trouble later. Naruto told him. I plan to. Hashirama said. The two looked back out over the ocean. These would be the last few days of living in peace. Nobody would be able to enjoy this again for a while. We had better start getting ready to leave, Hashirama said, looking away. Yeah, Naruto said softly. You seem troubled. Hashirama said. In my time, the third war was the war that the Densetsu no Sannin got their name. But neither you nor your brother lived to see it, Naruto told him. Hashirama immediately understood what he meant. You're scared for them, he said. Naruto nodded. No offense, but I would be able to take your death easily. But everyone else, especially those three, I'm not so sure. Hell, Tsunade was never the same after you got killed, Naruto told him, making the elderly man nod in understanding. You seem to have grown close to her, Hashirama stated. Naruto grinned so slightly that it only looked like a twitch. I've always had some sort of relationship with her. Every day it gets harder to see my Bachan, and while I used to wonder why Jiraiya liked her that way, I myself find it hard not to, he said almost nostalgically. You shouldn't forget that since you saved her, she hasn't been the same, but for the better in terms of change, Hashirama told him, as long as she doesn't go past blushing. I'm good, for now, Naruto said, remembering that the man was slightly more perverted than average men. Hashirama chuckled to himself, but put a serious face back on. I hate to say it, but even if I survive the battles, I'll succumb to my old age before this war is done, and Tobirama will only have a few years before the same happens to him, Hashirama said solemnly. Naruto looked at the man. Well then, last days are best spent with family. Maybe you should speak your mind to them before it's too late, he suggested. Hashirama seemed to contemplate on this. You know that once me and my brother die, Tsunade won't have much left, he told Naruto. Naruto just nodded. She has her mother, her grandmother, and you, whom she can actually talk to and feel safe talking to. Then she has Nawaki-kun, who she'll probably protect to her death once we're gone, which is what worries me, Hashirama said, knowing that Naruto would catch the message hidden in it. Don't worry, she'll stay safe, Naruto said in an effort to convince the elder man. Hashirama smiled slightly. I shouldn't be thinking about my death, but I don't have my wife's longevity. It has always been the one thing that I never understood, he said in an almost curious tone. Well, we had better be getting back to them. We've been talking for 10 minutes already, Naruto said, trying to get off topic. Yes, let's, Hashirama said, gazing out over the ocean one last time before leaving with Naruto. Both knew that the time of war was coming, and it was going to be like what would soon be known as the Great Massacre of the Water. Naruto saw Tsunade smiling at him, almost lovingly. On the outside he smiled back, but on the inside his stomach was churning. There is no training on this planet that can prepare her for what is to come. I only hope that you find out soon, Tsunade-chan, he thought before beginning a conversation. These were the final days before the Great Shinobi War, and nothing would prepare anyone for what would happen as a legacy begins. The end. Chapter 9. A team made of legends, gaining the skills. Naruto was with the rest of Team 7, running back to the village. No longer having a civilian weighing them down, he had decided to keep the 2 swords he had fought with in order to learn kenjutsu, as he wanted to diverse his arsenal of experience. His body was still bloody, his hair crusted and red from the blood to his cloths that he would probably never use again, but for intimidation he started to think on when the next Chunin exams would be held, and whereas he knew that if he was to be taken seriously by the shinobi world in a war, then they, Team 7, would need to rise through the ranks quickly. He was letting his mind wander when he thought of his talk with Hashirama. If what he says is true, then he will die too soon for anybody but himself. This isn't going to bode well, he thought. He looked towards Tsunade. He had all but forgotten of his Bachan and was slowly but surely, whether he realized it or not, falling in love with her, but of course, his hormones were doing this, so he would have to wait, something he definitely didn't realize he was doing. They were nearing Konoha's borders and Naruto turned his rinnegan on. He could see an almost veil-like essence over the village. Even from the distance he remembered when his Bachan had told him about this and began to wonder, exactly how had Hashirama made it. He didn't get much more time to think on it as they came up to the gate greeting Hokage-sama. Welcome home, one of the Jonin on guard said. Hashirama smiled at the man and nodded. They went to the Hokage's tower to fill in the mission report. The first thing that they saw was Tobirama and Hiruzen looking at the recent update of the bingo books from Kiri and Kumo. Their eyes widened. Tobirama looked up and laughed slightly. Well, Naruto-kun, you and Team 7 have definitely earned a name for yourselves, he said, handing his brother the bingo books to read out. Name, Uzumaki Naruto. Age, 6 years old. Rank, Kumo, SS, flea on sight. Kiri, SS, flea on sight. Description, sun-kissed blonde hair, fair skin, about 3 foot 7 inches. Affiliation, Konohagaku no Sado. Skills, Taijutsu, low Jonin, info limited, Genjutsu, unknown, Fuinjutsu, Jonin level, info limited, Ninjutsu, Kage level, Kenjutsu, complete mastery. Note, do not underestimate. Digitsu description, metallic purple with 4 rings, first 3 have 3 tomo each. Warning, Digitsu can control gravity, thought to be a cross between the Sharingan and the Rinnegan, the eyes of the Rikudo Sannin. Bounty, Kumo, 13,750,000 Ryo dead, 15 million Ryo alive. Kiri, 15,500,000 Ryo dead, 20 million Ryo alive. Team members, Senju Tsunade, Orochimaru, Jiraiya. Side note, he and his team caused the Battle of the Waves. Monikers, Sanbato no Shinigami, servant of the Shinigami. Everyone was shocked at how fast the news had traveled and even went as far as Kumo, which was a few days longer journey with mountain trekking. Naruto was particularly surprised at the moniker he received. Are we in it? Jiraiya asked. Still not recovered from the shock. Hashirama nodded. Yes you are, but since you only took out bandits, you aren't as well known. Doesn't mean your ranks are far behind, he said before reading out. Name, Senju Tsunade. Age 5. Rank, high rank, kill on sight. Description, light blonde hair, fair skin, about 3 foot 4 inches. Affiliation, Konohagaku no Sado. Skills, Taijutsu, high Chunin, Genjutsu unknown, Ninjutsu unknown. Note, do not attack when your teammates. Team works together flawlessly. Kekkei Genkai Mokuton, thought to her by her grandfather, Senju Hashirama, SSS rank. Bounty, Kumo, 23 million Ryo alive, 500,000 Ryo dead. Kiri, 8 million Ryo dead or alive. Teammates, Uzumaki Naruto, SS rank, Orochimaru, high B rank, and Jiraiya, high B rank. Name, Orochimaru. Age 6, rank, high B rank, capture on sight. Description, black hair, pale skin, about 3 foot 6 inches. Affiliation, Konohagaku no Sado. Skills, Taijutsu, mid-Chunin, Genjutsu and Ninjutsu, unknown. Note, do not attack when your teammates. Team works together flawlessly. Bounty, Kiri, 6 million Ryo dead or alive. Teammates, Uzumaki Naruto, SS rank, Senju Tsunade, high A rank, and Jiraiya, high B rank. Name, Jiraiya. Age 5, rank, high B rank, capture on sight. Description, white hair, fair skin, about 3 foot 5 inches. Affiliation, Konohagaku no Sado. Skills, Taijutsu, mid-Chunin, Genjutsu and Ninjutsu, unknown. Note, do not attack when your teammates. Team works together flawlessly. Bounty, 6 million Ryo dead or alive. Teammates, Uzumaki Naruto, SS rank, Senju Tsunade, high A rank, and Orochimaru, high B rank. The three were surprised to see this, as there was only one man who got away that would have the guts to tell someone about them. He would have to have been watching them during their fight with the mercenaries. Naruto, on the other hand, felt like laughing. His whole team was in the bingo book and they were standing there with their mouths open like fish. That aside, the next Chunin exams are coming up soon, and the Fire and Lightning daimyos have agreed to hold it in Konoha first this year, Tobirama said, getting everyone's attention. And after hearing about the great Team 7, he wants to see you compete in Konoha's exams, as he will be here on business then. With the Reikage, he continued. Tsunade gulped. Silently, the Reikage had already tried to kidnap her once, and while there was no doubt that she was better than she was when that incident happened, but only 10 people at the very most in this village could stand up to the man who had gained an army killer moniker. And she wasn't one of them. Naruto saw this and squeezed her hand and smiled at her. She blushed slightly but smiled back because she knew that no one else had seen it. They turned back to Tobirama, who looked slightly skeptical about what he would say next. This choice is yours and time is on your side, as it has only been a week since Suna held the exams, he said. But Naruto said, almost stating that Tobirama was leaving something out. Tobirama sighed. But he wants to put you up against 3 of the top Jonin of Kumo, veterans. One man saw the end of the clan wars and even fought in it, Tobirama said grimly. Naruto looked away from the man to think, why would he, the Fire Daimyo, agree to something like this when he only has rumors of our skill to back up, he thought before he realized something. We will be fighting as a team, right? After all, we'll be tired after fighting others if we don't end our matches fast, he said. I understand why you would think this, but you will be fighting these 3 and that's it. No one else. I hope, Tobirama said, muttering the last part. Naruto meanwhile was worried. I have no doubt that Tsunade and I can handle them, but if they separate us from Jiraiya and Orochimaru, then they're likely to get killed, he thought. His face grew to one of realization, which would make Tsunade lose control of her emotions and try to kill them. but they would easily kill her alone. Once she's dead, the same will happen to me if I'm not careful, he thought, dumbfounded that he even came up with something like this. Guess Tsunade-chan is rubbing off on me, he thought. It's an attempt to kill us, Naruto said flatly. Everyone looked at him like he had grown a second head, but when he explained his theory to them, their eyes widened. Of course, they would have had spies looking into these things. They want to be rid of you before you can become too strong, Hiruzen said. Well then what can we do? Jiraiya asked nervously. Naruto's eyes widened once more. Give me about 30 minutes, and I might have a better solution than just training, he said, earning a curious nod from Hashirama. Naruto sat down on the floor near a wall where no one could see him, or feel his presence, and began to meditate. Akira-chan might know how to solve this, he thought as his outer form became unconscious and he wandered into his mindscape. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto opened his eyes to see his figure change to an 18-year-old teen. Just like he had been before he traveled back in time, his mindscape had improved over the years since he was 12. In his time it was an ideal place for Naruto, a village that once scorned him now greeting him. His subconscious had made any familiar faces into real people in his mindscape. Only instead of the one from his time, it was now from the present time. He walked up to the Hokage monument where he knew Akira was, even though he didn't know how he knew. He saw her sitting, looking over the village. You have quite the imagination and memory, Naruto-kun. Save a few houses, this place is an exact replica, she said. You know why I'm here? Naruto stated. Yes, but why should I tell you? I have barely seen you in over a year, she said with a bit of anger. Maybe that's because every time I come here, you're asleep, he said with a sweat drop running down his face. Akira just huffed at this. If you're that desperate for company, then why not just set up a mental link between us, Naruto said. Akira could hear the obvious tone in his voice and blushed slightly, having not thought of it. Her quietness was an obvious answer to Naruto. Back to the important subject, is it possible, he asked. Yes, but the amount of pain that is required to perform it is excruciating. Thankfully this is the only sacrifice to be given, Akira answered. How do I perform it? Naruto asked, slightly relieved since Orochimaru knows a lot about anatomy. You can ask him where these points are, Akira said as Naruto nodded. First you need to tie the person down to something that's reinforced with chakra, mokuton being the best choice. Then you need to gather the chakra of the bloodline in either each hand or by combining the two elements that make it, making sure that your hand is fully extended. Then ram your fingertips into the solar plexus. This is to soften the pain of the next part, she said, making Naruto wince at the thought of doing this. The next part is dangerous, but since you can revive people, it's just more pain. Next you are to make a small incision right over the heart, small as in not deep. You do need to make it wide though. Then once again channel the chakra into your hands, only this time make a sort of fist and bring it above your head and bring it down fast where the incision was made and keep forcing pressure on it. Have someone start rubbing their hands together while channeling lightning chakra through them. Once you hear sparks coming from them, lift your hands and tell the person to shock the other. Then just give them about 5 minutes to regain consciousness, she said, making Naruto wince again. This has rarely been done because even though you get the said Kekkai Genkai out of it, it would stop anyone doing it again. Even Kami-chan had been through it once, and she never done it again. It's that painful, and as such, not many know of it, Akira explained to him. And what about Dijitsu? Naruto asked. Activate the Dijitsu and then channel normal chakra. The chakra that goes past the Dijitsu will pick up on its features and travel to your hands, Akira explained. How frequently can this be used? Naruto asked, surprising Akira. Once a month. Just enough time to give the body time to recover and rest, she said. Thanks, Akira-chan. By the way, don't forget the mental link again, Naruto said, making her blush furiously as he turned around. Real world. Naruto became conscious again and started to move, making everyone look towards him. Well, Tsunade asked, hopefully there is a solution, but you're not going to like it, he said. Before explaining the horrible procedure to them, I can understand why. Doing this would make any man want to just drop dead, Orochimaru said. So who wants to go first? Naruto asked almost sarcastically. Orochimaru. Jiraiya and Tsunade looked at each other before Jiraiya sighed and stepped forward. I'll do it, he said. Naruto nodded. We should probably get to a more suitable environment, he said. They then left for the medical room. Once inside it, Naruto created a table from his mokuton and put metal braces on it for Jiraiya's hands, feet, body and head, even though the table was more of a pedestal, and then place a silencing barrier on the room. Jiraiya looked like a nervous wreck as he got on the table and was strapped down. Naruto started channeling chakra for the yoton to his hands. As soon as he started, Jiraiya's face started to scrunch up as he let out a howl of pain which made even Hashirama wince at. When he began the second part, he had to cover his outer ear in chakra to not hear the sudden shriek that came from him, but not before telling Tsunade to charge her lightning chakra. When he released the chakra, Jiraiya was begging him to stop. He heard Tsunade's hands spark. Now he yelled at Tsunade. Tsunade dropped her hands right over where Jiraiya's heart was and his whole body shook. When everything calmed down, Jiraiya was unconscious but alive. Naruto activated his rinnegan and looked at Jiraiya. Well, it worked, he said, relieved. Everyone else in the room visibly sighed. Jiraiya started to stir after a few minutes, and the first thing he said was, did it work? His voice was hoarse from the lightning chakra, but he didn't take notice as his whole body was numb from pain. Yeah, Naruto said, smiling slightly, but for now just rest, Naruto said as he released the metal restraints holding him down. After another blood-curdling scream from Orochimaru after his own operation, Naruto could see that Tsunade was nervous. With Hashirama gone to make sure Jiraiya and Orochimaru were alright and Tobirama and Hiruzen gone back to doing their duties so they don't pile up, he and Naruto were alone with no adult, something that made her nervous. Naruto saw this and held her hand again. It always seemed to calm her down, so why do anything else, hey? It'll be alright after, he said. This seemed to gain her confidence. As she gave him a shy smile, she got on the table, and was strapped in. Naruto created a Kagebushin before once again performing the surgery. Tsunade started to scream just like Jiraiya and Orochimaru. What Tsunade didn't know was that Naruto was using a special chakra on her. The Shoton. When Naruto heard the sparks and took his hands away and his clone shocked her, he was surprised to see her eyes open almost immediately, but there was something that shocked him even more. Tsunade's eyes were not her own. Rich brown eyes had turned to a color that made Naruto's heart stop. Her eyes were a metallic purple, with 4 concentric rings around her pupil. Well, this is unexpected, a voice said in his head. You call this unexpected? Shit, this is both cool and strange at once, Naruto thought to Akira. Tsunade saw Naruto's face and got worried. Is everything alright? She said in her pain. Naruto looked at her, snapping out of his daze. Yeah, better than expected, he said softly. Tsunade looked really confused by this, but as Naruto said that, Hashirama walked in. Well, he asked, maybe you should look for yourself, Naruto said. Hashirama looked confused. He couldn't see chakra. So why would Naruto ask this? As soon as he saw his granddaughter's eyes, he gasped. Tsunade was getting nervous. All she could think was, had something gone wrong? How is this possible? Hashirama asked Naruto. Don't know, it could come from your wife, but that would be my best guess, Naruto replied. Hello. I'm still here, Tsunade said. The two looked at Tsunade and thought, sorry Tsunade-chan, but until we can figure this out, you'll have to. He trailed off as he remembered something. Flashback. Naruto was walking back to Tsunade after his training session with him. He could see that she was looking through a book that had to do with blood and bloodlines but ignored it. Tsunade looked up to him and smiled. Hey Naruto-kun, do you mind if I get a blood sample from you? It's for an experiment I want to try. I need several different samples, so if I get yours I won't have to get too many to keep track of, she said. Naruto was slightly confused but complied and let her put a syringe in his arm to extract the blood. Strangely enough, she looked slightly nervous, but he had ignored that too. Thanks Naruto-kun, she said before walking away, her legs shaking slightly as though she had done something she shouldn't have. End flashback. Naruto's face described quite a few different looks: shock, worry and confusion, just to name a few. Tsunade-chan, that syringe of blood you got from me, did you inject it into yourself? He said as she sat up. And no, she answered nervously. Naruto looked at her sternly. She sighed before replying, yes. Tsunade-chan, you know you could have killed yourself, only our blood is compatible, Naruto said almost like scolding parents. Tsunade looked down and almost seemed to pout. Naruto sighed in defeat. She's damn well lucky she didn't get herself killed, he thought. Just go and get some rest, he said in his frustration. He looked toward where Tsunade was leaving and rubbed his temples of all the stupid things she could have done with it. He spoke to himself. Hashirama looked at him confused. Exactly how could she have died from your blood, he asked. Well, as you know, with civilians and their blood types, if you inject the wrong type it would cause problems. With shinobi with bloodlines, however, if the blood isn't compatible with the person, it could kill them if they suffer anything much more than a small cut, he explained, making Hashirama's eyes widen. So you mean that she's been in danger of dying since a few days before we left for the mission? Hashirama said. Yeah, she's lucky our bloods are compatible. Otherwise we'd be having an early funeral for her, Naruto said with a sigh. So what shall you do now? Hashirama asked him. Naruto sighed. I'll help them train with their new Kekkai Genkai. As for Tsunade having the rinnegan, I don't know, he said sighing again. You will have to teach her eventually. Knowing Tsunade, she'll probably try on her own and end up hurting herself, Hashirama said. I know. She's a handful when she tries to catch up to me, Naruto answered. Well, we might as well see how we're going to do this. We've got a long 5 months ahead of us, Naruto said. With that the two walked out. 5 months later, Naruto was currently training with the rest of Team 7. Ever since they had received their Kekkai Genkai, Naruto had pummeled them into the ground with training. He didn't want Orochimaru and Jiraiya to fall behind, so he doubled their training to the point that they collapsed from either chakra exhaustion or their injuries, whichever came first. They had improved dramatically over the past 5 months. Both now bordering S rank. At first Naruto had refused to train Tsunade to use her rinnegan, but after a month of calming himself down he complied. He needed to make sure they were ready for the exams. They may have had skill, but they severely lacked experience. The three were fighting all out against him, and while they could overwhelm him a couple of times, he somehow managed to just get away each time. Come on guys, you were doing great earlier, Naruto said. That was pant over pant. 3 hours ago, Jiraiya managed to say between pants. Ah, is Jiraiya-chan getting tired? Naruto teased. Well, it's not our fault that you're a stamina monster, Jiraiya yelled back. Well then, would you like to go a little longer? I'm sure another few hours won't do any harm, Naruto said. Jiraiya paled, while Orochimaru and Tsunade glared at him. Naruto chuckled at the sight. Alright, come on, we'll finish up for today. The exams are tomorrow, Naruto said. He heard 3 sighs of relief as soon as he said that. And I thought we'd never have to see the academy again, Jiraiya said, slightly depressed. Just be glad that we have to be there for 9, and not 8, Orochimaru said, chuckling. Just remember to wake up in the morning, Tsunade teased. Naruto grinned at this. Finally, someone besides me gets it for punctuality, he thought happily. Jiraiya stuck his tongue out at her childishly. Well, how about this then? If the two of you aren't there an hour early, I'll come and get you myself, Tsunade said with a sickly sweet smile. Jiraiya gulped, and Orochimaru started to sweat. See you too tomorrow, Naruto said. But Orochimaru and Jiraiya had already left. Naruto's forehead had a sweat drop on it. They're really terrified of you, he said, turning to Tsunade. Tsunade pouted and said, well, it's not my fault, they're only on time, and it's not their fault you're so early to everything, Naruto said, chuckling. Tsunade pouted again before regaining a serious look. Gigi wants to see me in the morning. He wants you to come with me, a half hour early. I have a feeling that it's not going to be good, she said, staring at the ground. Naruto's face hardened as he knew what Hashirama would tell her, and felt sad for her, but if she doesn't hear it now, she probably never will. He thought. He put on his best fake smile. It's probably nothing. Come on, let's go, he said. The next morning, Naruto was walking to the academy, his mind set on what would transpire with this little talk Hashirama was going to give Tsunade. The sun was barely rising over the sky, giving it a red tint. He sighed in frustration. She's not going to like this, he mumbled to himself. But the burden of one will be held by many, he heard a voice in his head say. Doesn't mean it'll be any easier for her, Akira-chan, he thought to the Biju. At least she'll get to hear it from him, and not his brother. Akira assured. Naruto sighed. You always have something to add, don't you, he thought to her. But of course, Naruto-kun, Akira teased. Naruto looked up as he found himself looking at Tsunade, looking worried outside the academy with her grandfather. Hashirama looked at Naruto, and Naruto immediately knew why he would be needed. He wasn't just going to tell her about him. He was going to tell her everything. Hashirama sighed. Good morning, Naruto, he said, causing Tsunade to look up. Whatever news her grandfather had to tell her was going to end in tears, and she knew it. Hashirama sighed once again. Tsunade, you may or may not know, but we are on the brink of a war between the shinobi nations, he started. Tsunade nodded, signaling for him to continue as Naruto stood beside her. I'm afraid to tell you this, but I'm not going to live to see the end of it, he said with tears in his eyes. At first Tsunade didn't react, so he took the opportunity to continue. Whether it be from battle or old age, I'm going to die before this war is over. Tobirama won't be far behind either, he said, kneeling down to her height. By now Tsunade's eyes were threatening to overflow with tears. I'm telling you this because I don't want you to get depressed. I don't want you to become that kind of person just because of my death, he said, hugging her. Tsunade was now openly crying as her grandfather hugged her. Naruto had also come to her side and squeezed her hand. Whether I die sooner or later doesn't matter. I will die before the bloodshed of war ends. Please, Tsunade-chan, stay strong. I know that my death shall affect you greatly, but you still have many people to look after you. You have your mother, Sarah-chan, Naruto-kun, the most of all. You'll never truly be alone, Tsunade-chan, Hashirama whispered into his granddaughter's ear so only she could hear. That was it for Tsunade as the floodgates were opened. Her tears had covered the shoulder of her grandfather by now. It was only when he explained to her what she would have left after he died did she start to calm down. Though not by much. Naruto frowned as he wondered why Hashirama had chosen this day to tell her. Then his eyes widened. So you really are that close, he thought, looking at him sadly. Hashirama whispered once more, only this time Tsunade had barely heard it. Both I and your Bachan know how much you like Naruto-kun. He will help you through everything. You don't need to worry. Tsunade had stopped crying and smiled slightly, but blushed even more now. I believe you have an exam to get to, Hashirama said, standing up. It was only now that both he and Naruto realized Tsunade was holding Naruto's hand even though he had let go. Tsunade and Naruto slowly made their way into the academy. Tsunade-chan, would you mind letting go of my hand? Naruto asked awkwardly. Tsunade blushed even more when she realized she was still holding his hand and let go. Naruto smiled and put his hand on her shoulder. Come on. Otherwise we'll be late. As soon as he said this, Tsunade grabbed his hand again and rushed to their room. Naruto smiled even more at this. Well, that's one problem solved, he thought as they arrived outside the room. Things will only get worse from here. She might as well enjoy herself, he thought as they arrived outside the exam room door. The end. Chapter 10. Chunin Exams Part 1. Naruto looked up as he saw the first team arrive to the exam room. Jiraiya and Orochimaru had gotten here about a half hour ago, both running for fear of Tsunade killing them. To say they were annoyed she wasn't even paying attention was an understatement because it meant that they could have stayed in bed longer. Naruto tensed as he saw that the team that entered were glaring at him, and his team back in this time. It wasn't uncommon to have young children in the Chunin exams as it usually meant that they were strong, depending on how old they were. So to see 5- and 6-year-olds in the Chunin exams would make anyone wary. Naruto took note at their height. They're from Kumo, he thought warily as they seemed to be whispering to each other. What are they talking about? Tsunade whispered, not looking towards them. I don't know. That's what worries me, Naruto answered. He looked to his left to see Orochimaru and Jiraiya trying to pass the time. The door opened and another 2 teams came in. The team from Kumo released Ki to try and intimidate the teams, but Naruto just released his own and made the Kumo team collapse to their knees, except for the girl, about Tsunade's age, who was sweating, but other than that she didn't seem fazed. The other 2 teams seemed to look at him thankfully but then stared at him in slight fear, as though they had realized who he was. Naruto saw that their height was for Kiri. He could only imagine the stories of the Battle of Wave that they had heard. He stifled a chuckle as he realized that they were scared of a 6-year-old. Talk about paranoid. Even if it was him. Within an hour the room was packed with at least 50 teams from all over the shinobi nations, and each village had their own reactions. To seeing him Kumo glared, Kiri gave him the odd glance and seemed to be slightly trembling. Iwa and Suna were making sure they kept an eye on them, and other than Taki, who stared in awe, any other team from the minor villages looked about ready to piss themselves. He shifted his eyes to the left, and Tsunade seemed to be meditating to try and get away from the stares. Even if there was some chatter among the other teams, Jiraiya was reading, which surprised Naruto, while Orochimaru had taken out a leaf to practice his chakra control. A large man walked into the classroom. Everyone, "Sit down now and shut up," he said. Even though there was only whispers through the room, everyone sat down. Some still glared at him. "Each of you will be given a sheet of paper. Do not turn it over until I say so," he said as 5 Chunin started handing out the pieces of paper. Naruto could see that Tsunade had as clear a view of him as he did her. Jiraiya and Orochimaru were sitting a few seats behind him and could see him and Tsunade clearly. He smirked. "Looks like teaching them A and BU code paid off," he thought, while the Chunin give the tests out. "I will explain a few rules. First off, if you're caught cheating 5 times, you and your team are out of the exams. There are also 9 questions on the sheet. I'll give you the last one at the end. Each person starts out with 10 points. For each question they get wrong, 2 points are deducted, and to pass your team needs the same amount of points as it has people. Any questions?" he said. No one put their hands up. "No." "Then you may begin. You have 1 hour," he said. The sound of paper crinkling was heard through the classroom as well as a few gulps. Naruto smirked as he answered the first question and made a series of hand signs to his team. Team 3 of Suna, leave now, one of the Chunin said. 3 sighs were heard as the first team left. A few more gulps were heard. Not 30 seconds in and the first team was sent out. Naruto smirked as he continued to answer the questions before sending a code to his teammates. He heard the rhythm of a pencil bouncing off a desk and sighed as he repeated one of the codes. Probably Jiraiya, he thought. By the time he had finished there was only 10 minutes gone. He turned his page over so any other idiot didn't try and copy his answers. Team 5 of Kiri and Team 8 of Taki are to leave now, another Chunin said. Everyone is too cautious. Nearly no one is actually trying to cheat, he thought, looking around with his eyes. As he leaned back he saw that Tsunade had done the same and felt several eyes on the both of them. Deciding it was too much of an effort to wait until the 50 minutes were up, he went to his mindscape. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto opened his eyes and found himself near the center of the Konoha. Inside his head as an 18-year-old people were all walking around, minding their own business, and a few waved at him. "Naruto-kun, what are you doing here?" Akira asked. "The Chunin exams were way too easy this time. There's still 50 minutes left. You seem to be enjoying yourself," he said, noticing the bottle of sake in her hand. "Everything in here is real, you know. The people are just what you remember of them, but they act exactly like they do in real life. Almost like you made a copy of them without knowing the details. The human mind really is a wondrous thing," Akira said while looking up to the 3-faced Hokage mountain. Naruto's mouth was slightly agape. The people here were the same as the ones he remembered seeing in real life, and his mind had created carbon copies in both appearance and personality without knowing the latter. It blew his mind because he basically had a mini village in his head. "So what are you going to be teaching Tsunade? With the rinnegan, I mean?" Akira asked. "She shouldn't even have the damn thing. She's lucky to be alive," Naruto said. "Doesn't mean that she shouldn't be trained to use it now that she does have it," Akira said. "I'll show her how to use a few of the weaker techniques, even if they're still powerful to the point of being a god," Naruto said with a sigh. Akira chuckled. "Oh, come on, Naruto-kun, she's already convincing you to train her. She just doesn't want to be as helpless as she was when you first saved her," Akira said. Naruto sighed. "I know that, but her childishness will get her killed if she's not careful. And I speak from experience," Naruto said. Akira looked at Naruto sadly as she knew what he said was true and at his continuous worry for her. It was heart-wrenching for her to see him worry about the girl. "Don't worry, Naruto-kun. She'll be alright," she whispered as she pulled him into a hug. Naruto smiled at this. Since meeting her, Akira had become more like a caring older sister figure to him, and he had even grown to love her like so. Though he managed to keep it hidden from her, Akira held him tightly for a few moments before letting go. "You had better get back soon, Naruto-kun. There's only 5 minutes left for the test," Akira said. "That was fast," Naruto said. "Well, time isn't always what it seems in your mindscape. You wanted at least 40 minutes to go by when you came here. That's exactly what has happened," Akira said. "Goodbye, Naruto-kun," she said before Naruto's vision of her went black. The real world. Naruto opened his eyes and looked around him. There were probably only 30 teams left from the original 50. He saw that Tsunade was trying to entertain herself by playing with her pencil. Jiraiya's head was against the desk as he let out a light snore every now and then, and Orochimaru, who had put a genjutsu over himself, was reading a book that Naruto couldn't identify. "Pencils down," the main proctor said. "Before I give you the last question, there are a few rules to tell you," he said, gaining a few groans from the Genin. "Firstly, if you don't want to take the question you can leave. But if you do take it and get it wrong, you are banned from taking the Chunin exams for 4 years," he said with a smirk as nearly the whole room started shouting in complaint. His smirk faded when he noticed Naruto and his team weren't even fazed by this. After quietening them down, teams began to pour out until there was only 17 teams left. He waited for a few moments to see if anyone else would get up before speaking up again. "If no one else wants to leave, you all pass," he said as he explained what a Chunin was expected to do. The faces of the remaining team cells were bright and, well, happy. The proctor looked at Naruto and saw him smirk, so the kid figured it out. "Not bad," he thought. "Before you move on to the next exam, I might as well explain one more thing. The ways that you cheated, they were easily detected. I only saw 5 people cheating in a way that wouldn't be detectable in battle. You should think about improving it," he said before leaving as another man entered. "Hello everyone, meet me at Training Ground 44 in 20 minutes, and I shall explain there," the man said before leaving. Naruto smirked at hearing Training Ground 40. "For what's up with you?" Jiraiya asked. "Training Ground 44, better known as the Forest of Death," Naruto replied, just loud enough for a few other genin to hear. Jiraiya paled. "You're just saying that to scare the other teams, right?" he asked. "No," was Naruto's reply. "Training Ground 44 aka Forest of Death." The remaining teams had arrived at Training Ground 44. They looked slightly shaken from what they saw besides Team 7, excluding Jiraiya. The only person that wasn't intimidated was the girl from the Kumo team. "Alright, listen up. You're going to get a scroll. Half will get a heaven scroll. The other half will get an earth scroll. You have 5 days to take a scroll from another team and make it to the tower, he said, pointing towards a tower a couple of kilometers away. You will be given a number and your team are to go to the gate with the same number. There you shall receive your scroll. Any questions, he said. When no one put their hand up, he started handing out pieces of paper. Naruto unfolded his piece number 3, he said to his teammates. Team 7 then proceeded to walk towards gate 3, and when they got there was a tall, lanky man standing next to a table. Before I give you your scroll, sign here. It's a warrant saying that we are not responsible for any injuries or fatalities that might occur, he said. Team 7 signed it. Though Jiraiya was slightly hesitant after they received the Earth Scroll, they were told to go straight in. They ran for roughly 5 minutes before stopping and clearing. Now, how are we going to do this? Tsunade asked. This forest is 8 miles long. The other teams could be anywhere, Orochimaru said. So how do we find them? Jiraiya asked. We don't. They've already found us, Naruto said before throwing a shuriken towards a tree. The tree seemed to rustle just before the shuriken hit him. The kid's good, an excited voice said, but not good enough. Another deeper voice said. A Fuma shuriken burst from the trees and Naruto caught it. So he's not that good, is he? He doesn't even look scared. He looks almost bored. A deep but level voice called out. Naruto threw the Fuma shuriken to his left. Haha. He nearly got me, the excited voice said. Alright, I have had enough of this, Naruto thought. Katan. Goka Makyaku, he said, and a giant wall of flames destroyed most of the trees in the clearing. Holy shit, that was close, the excited voice yelled. Let's move in. He's bound to be tired after that, the level voice said. Through the smoke, Naruto could see 3 silhouettes. Naruto gestured for his team to hide. Looks like your team has abandoned you, kid, the deep voice said. As the team's appearance became clear, the deep voice came from a big, bulky guy who looked about 13. It just means easy pickings for us, the excited voice. A guy who was hunched over slightly and dressed eerily like Naruto did in his original timeline said. Naruto withdrew one of his swords. What? Too afraid to speak, kid, the bulky boy said. Naruto remained silent. He saw the level-headed boy reach into his pouch and threw a kunai at him. Naruto burst into a flock of crows. What the hell was that? The hunched boy asked. Genjutsu, the level-headed boy said. I'm surprised you figured it out. You're the first that figured it out and still lives, Naruto said, his voice ringing through the air. I'll just have to change that, Naruto continued. The hunched boy fell to the ground with a sword lodged in his throat. Hey, come out and fight, coward, the big bulky kid said. Naruto suddenly appeared in front of him and used the inhuman strength that Tsunade thought him to send the boy flying. The level-headed boy turned to attack him but made one small but fatal mistake. He looked into Naruto's eyes. Tsukuyami, Naruto said. A few seconds later the boy fell to the ground, screaming, and slit his own throat. Naruto sighed as his deactivated his Mangekyo Rinnegan. He bent down and picked up the boy's scroll, and just his luck, a heaven scroll. Alright guys, you can come down now, he said as he sheathed his sword. Team 7 then continued their way towards the Chunin Tower, meeting a couple of more arrogant teams along the way. There was just one downside to getting there early: waiting for everyone else. 5 days later, after 5 days of waiting, the other teams had finally arrived. Naruto didn't let his team just lie around and created 2 blood clones. He had them train Jiraiya and Orochimaru. While he trained Tsunade, to say that they were tired would be an understatement. So Naruto decided to give them a break every couple of hours. When the second exam was officially over, Team 7 made their way to the arena. Naruto could see that there was only 8 teams left, which only consisted of teams from the major villages. Up on the balcony, Hiruzen Sarutobi stepped up to make an announcement. Welcome all, you have survived the second test. But now is where the challenge is. The Chunin exams are not just for graduating to the next level, but are also to improve a village's prestige with the daimyos and other nations. The better your performance in the final stage, the more clients your village gets, as well as any potential enemies giving a second thought to attacking, he explained to the Genin. However, I'm afraid to tell you that there are too many of you here, therefore, we must hold these preliminaries to narrow down the numbers. If anyone wishes to drop out can do so now, as your choice no longer affects your teammates, Hiruzen said. Several people dropped out, until there was only 20 people left. Now that no one else is going to drop out, we can begin, he said. A woman stepped out from behind him and jumped down to the arena floor. Hello, my name is Keiko and I am your proctor for the third exam. First match will be Kyoto of Kumo versus Masahiko of Suna. Everyone else go up to the balcony, Keiko said. Ready? Hajime, she said before jumping back up to the balcony. How about you just give up and I'll treat you to something you'll really enjoy, Masahiko said with a smirk. Why? Because you're afraid to lose, Kyoto said in a stoic tone. Masahiko, in his arrogance, snarled and said, I'll show you. Bitch, he charged her at Chunin level speeds. Naruto smirked as he realized just who the girl was. The reason that she didn't drop from his ki. This girl was Kyoto no Enten, the girl who created the blaze release, which led to her being the third kunoichi to reach S rank in the bingo book, as most others were either killed, settled into family life, or didn't go past mid-A rank. He knew that this fight was already over when Masahiko charged at her. Kyoto drew a kunai and plunged it into Masahiko's heart at such speeds that only Team 7, the Jonin present and Sarutobi, could see. Winner, Kyoto. Keiko said. Who's she? Tsunade asked him. That Tsunade-chan is Kyoto. A little rumor going around is that she is quite the expert at nature transformation. She even created the Enten. Naruto said. I've never heard of it. Tsunade said. It's a combination of right-un and katan nature affinities. Naruto explained to her. Amazing, Tsunade said. Naruto smirked. She's still in Kumo, and she hasn't changed her name yet. She's even born earlier. Let's see what you got this time round. Pakura, he thought, looking down at the green-brown-haired girl. Next match. Jiraiya of Konoha vs Iwao of Iwa. Keiko said. Jiraiya jumped down, and was met with an intimidating boy who looked to be in his late teens. Heh, this'll be easy pickings. Iwao said. Jiraiya gulped and fell into a taijutsu stance. Ready. Hajime. Keiko said. Iwao charged Jiraiya with kunai in hand. Jiraiya barely had time to jump out of the way. Damn it. Get back here, Iwao said. Jiraiya instead took out a kunai with a tag at the end and threw it at him. It blew up when Iwao caught it when the smoke cleared. Iwao was covered in oil. You little shit, Iwao said with visible rage. Jiraiya rubbed the back of his head. Oops. Wrong tag, he said, chuckling nervously. I'm going to kill you for that, Iwao shouted at the top of his lungs as he charged Jiraiya. Ready to take his head off, Jiraiya jumped to the side just before he was hit and threw another tag at Iwao, igniting him on fire. Iwao screamed in pain as he gave up and was put out by Keiko. Winner. Jiraiya, she said after giving Iwao to a couple of medical needs. Naruto looked at Jiraiya as he stood next to them once more. You deceptive idiot, he said, chuckling to himself. Jiraiya rubbed the back of his head and chuckled slightly. Next match. Orochimaru of Konoha vs Tatsumaka Minori of Konoha. Keiko said. Proctor-san, I concede. I'm not strong enough to fight Orochimaru, Minori said as soon as Keiko said her name. Keiko nodded. Winner by default. Orochimaru, she said. Lucky team. Jiraiya said to Orochimaru. Next match. Senju Tsunade of Konoha vs Hyuga Ryo of Konoha. Keiko said. When Tsunade jumped down, she was met with a glare that could pierce the soul as Ryo had already activated his Byakugan. Ready. Hajime. Keiko said as she jumped back. Not a second later, Tsunade brought her hand up to her face as she blocked a strike that would have hit her right between her eyes. She jumped back to avoid being hit, but Ryo kept coming as he hit both her arms in several different places before jumping back. When Tsunade tried to move her arms, she found she couldn't, but before she could channel Kyuubi's chakra to them, Ryo laughed. I've hit the Tenketsu points in your arm. They are now useless to you now. Just give up, he said with a grin that screamed of arrogance. Tsunade smirked as she channeled the Kyuubi's chakra to her arms. Ryo's face suddenly turned to confusion, and then to horror as Tsunade moved her arms with ease. That's not exactly the hardest problem to solve, but just to take your stupid pride down. I won't use my arms, she said as she put her arms behind her back. Ryo smirked at her seemingly stupid decision. Tsunade channeled chakra to her legs and jumped as high as the balcony before coming down to the ground with her inhuman strength. Ryo barely had time to jump away, and when he did, he got hit by the debris from the crater that Tsunade had made with her foot. Almost everyone was shocked of the pure and raw power behind the destruction of the floor to the chakra that was visibly surrounding her leg. When the dust cleared, Ryo was unconscious with a large stone next to him. Keiko jumped down from the balcony, still in shock at what she had just witnessed. Winner. T.S. Tsunade, she said, stuttering slightly. Tsunade jumped back up to the balcony and stood next to Naruto, who was holding his temples and silently laughing. Next match. Uchiha Masaru of Konoha vs Kodamaru of Kiri. Keiko said. Ready. Hajime. Keiko said. Masaru activated his Sharingan, and 3 tomo could be seen in each eye as he charged Kodamaru. They locked themselves in a taijutsu battle and stayed locked in it for several minutes before Masaru gained the upper hand and managed to catch Kodamaru on the chin. Winner. Uchiha Masaru. Keiko said. After a half hour, Naruto was the only genin from Konoha who still hadn't fought, and the person he was fighting shocked him greatly. The final fight will be Uzumaki Naruto of Konoha vs Gari of Iwa. Keiko said. Mokuton no Gari, one of the most revered men in his time, was now before him. Ready. Hajime. Keiko said. Gari and Naruto didn't move for a second, seemingly studying each other before the two ran at each other. Naruto knew that he couldn't get too close as he would have to show his speed, so instead he settled for mid-range combat. Futon. Kami Orosho, Naruto said as he forced the wind strong enough to stop Gari and make his sight on him go blurry. Naruto took this chance to cast 2 genjutsu before making another set of hand signs. Suiton. Hahanri, he said, and a small torrent of water was launched from his hand. Doton. Kokagari said, and just before he was hit, a mass of earth burst up and covered his body. The earth dispersed from his body, and he was panting slightly. Naruto grinned slightly at first. Gari was confused, his eyes then widened. Too late, a voice behind him said. Gari turned around, only to be punched in the face on the ground. He looked to where Naruto was before he turned around. The Naruto that was there began to disappear in a distortion of the air around him. In a desperate attempt to get away, Gari threw an explosive tag at Naruto, who didn't even move as the tag blew up. At first Gari was confused as to why Naruto didn't move, but when he felt metal against his throat he knew what had happened. A double illusion. He whispered. Correct. Now concede, Naruto whispered back when Gari conceded and Keiko announced his victory. Most of the remaining Iwa genin were looking on in shock. That was fun, Naruto said to himself as he went back up to the balcony. He could feel the stares on him and inwardly smirked, while keeping a stoic look. Keiko then nodded to a pair of Chunin who came down holding a box. Alright everyone, listen up. Each of you will come down here, one at a time, and pick a number from the box. Show it to me and I shall tell you what match number you'll be fighting in. Don't ask me who your opponent is because I won't tell you, she said. First up is Uzumaki Naruto. Keiko said. Naruto sighed and jumped back down. He picked out a number and showed it to Keiko. Match 1, she whispered into his ear. This process continued till no one was left. Now that everyone has their matches, you have 1 month to train for the next exam. Goodbye, Hiruzen said when everyone left and Team 7 were out of range of the other genin. Jiraiya turned to Naruto. If we already have to fight others, how will we fight the Jonin, he asked. Naruto looked at him. Only one way to do it. Finish our fights quickly enough so we are ready, but slowly enough to entertain the daimyo, Naruto said. The end. What if Godlike Naruto gets Rinnegan instead of Sasuke? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.